Fantasy Football Wednesday. Yes. Bear with me one moment. Having some minor technical difficulties, but I am. All right, here we go. Yes. Oh, man. Very excited here. Very excited to join you guys. Very excited to answer any and all of your fantasy football questions. I was a little surprised at how much you guys like fantasy football, wanted to get into it. So I decided to do Fantasy Football Wednesday, and I am going to do Fantasy Football Thursday. Down the line, I was originally going to have Denver Gator come on and talk some college football. He's possibly later on down the line, he's going to join either Wednesday or Thursday, talk a little college ball. I do want to talk some college. One of the things I was doing right before I came on the air was Hoodin 2-1. Hello, brother. Trey, what's up, man? Oh man, I'm jacked up. One of the things I was doing is I was going over the NFL Hall of Fame list. It was just released today. So what it is that the Hall of Fame has what is it? They released their first. It's 167 modern era players and some big names that are first time. People, you have to be out of the NFL for 5 years. They've changed it for coaches. So Bill Belichick, I think, is eligible next year. Of course, he's guaranteed to get in. I was kind of going over this list and trying to figure out. There's kind of a backlog. There's several players that I think should have already been in. And I'm kind of going over this list here. One thing about the NFL Hall of Fame, this should be a no-brainer. If you got to wonder, should a player be in the Hall of Fame, then he shouldn't. That's just it. That's just it. Houdini. All right, this is a great question. Do you like McBride or Laporta better this week? Should I flex Brian Robinson or the other tight end you didn't prefer? More than likely, you're a PPR. Now, Brian Robinson hasn't caught a lot of passes. Let me double check that. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right information, but I'm going to level with you. I do like Brian Robinson. Now, I don't expect him to have a huge game. I got a feeling the Bengals, let me see here. I just want to make sure I'm giving you the right information because I know he had a really good week 1. 3 catches, 49 yards, 4 catches for the whole season. Not really a threat in the receiving game. But I will say this. Didn't have a huge game. Going to split some time with Austin Eckler. I do like both McBride and Laporta. I like both of those guys. And the thing is with Laporta is that they are not using him near enough. And I asked some questions. As a general rule of thumb, I would strongly recommend I always recommend taking a running back instead. Now, the one thing about this game is that, they're going to go against Cincinnati. I don't think it's a great matchup, particularly for Brian Robinson, where I think Laporta is going to have a good matchup against Cardinals. I think McBride is going to have a good matchup against the Lions. And the reason why I say that is because you have Marvin Harrison Jr. They're going to really, really, really the Detroit Lions are really going to focus on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think McBride could potentially have a good game. I like McBride and Laporta both. I really do. I really don't think you're going wrong with either one. I'm such a huge fan of both, but the one thing about Laporta is that I think sooner or later he's going to get that game. So I'm slightly leaning towards Laporta. There's not an option. There's not a bad option. I'll be honest with you. There's not one that I like over the other. I would flex Robinson over the tight end. And the reason why is that I'm not expecting a huge game. Even though he didn't have a great performance last week against the Giants, I do expect Brian Robinson to get about 15 to 20 touches. Probably, I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game in Cincinnati. I predicted a lower-scoring game. If you watch my picks video, if you haven't, please check it out. It's a great video. I think it's going to be a lower-scoring game. There is a situation where Cincinnati comes in, blows them out. I could see that. I predicted that Washington would cover but lose. I don't expect a huge game from Brian Robinson, but you're going to probably get 5 to 10 more touches with Brian Robinson than either tight end. Now, there is a situation where I can see McBride and Laporta both scoring touchdowns. Brian Robinson won't, but I really would keep Brian Robinson on the field. You're in a PPR league, okay? You're in a PPR league. You want the guy that's going to get as many touches as you can. So I would definitely keep Brian Robinson as your flex. McBride, Laporta, you could flip a coin, leaning towards Laporta just a little bit. Just a little bit. He's averaging 3.5 targets a game, surprisingly, in the passing game. Yeah, and by the way, so what it is that they picked up Austin Eckler this offseason. It looks like early on they're using Austin Eckler more as a receiver, which why the Chargers didn't just use him as a slot receiver. He's one of the best slot receivers in the game. He's a running back that really should be used as a slot receiver. I don't know why the last couple of years, for whatever reason, the Chargers decided to run him between the tackles. He had a season that's like 103, 104 receptions. I'm still not convinced that Washington's using Eckler correctly, but Brian Robinson's a guy that I really think both these guys, they need to find a way in Washington to get both Eckler and Robinson 15 to 20 touches a game. So, Hopefully I answered your question, but I mean, I'm a level with you. Laporta or McBride. I don't think you're making a bad decision either way. Laporta maybe by a hair. Chaka, should I trade away Barkley for D. Smith, Ramondre, Amari Cooper, and Ingram PPR? Wow, that's a lot. I mean, Barkley is going to get more than all these guys. Ingram, for what Ingram, I didn't know this at the time. Got injured right before the game. Injured right before the game. I should know this, but I believe he's fine. His injury status is fine. I need to check on that. I know Amari Cooper hasn't been doing much, but I expect, keep in mind, one thing I haven't looked at yet, and I would really, this does factor into is one or both of the tackles for the Cleveland Browns are going to be healthy. That's a big deal. That's a lot of people are blaming Deshaun Watson. No, he's playing with two backup tackles. You're going against some good defenses. If those tackles are healthy, I fully expect Amari Cooper to step up. At best, though, Amari Cooper and Devontae Smith, you're looking at a couple of number twos. Ramondre Stevenson, as long as he's healthy, is a solid low end one, high end two. I mean, if you've been watching me over the last couple of weeks, you know that I am very, very high on Ramondre Stevenson. The thing is with Saquon Barkley, he's your one. I mean, he's your one. So what you're doing in this type of trade is that you're getting an elite guy, okay, full disclosure, I love Saquon Barkley. I've always said the same thing about Saquon Barkley when he gets hurt. When he gets hurt, and by the way, it's really almost a question of when, not if. Then you're gonna have problems. I would only make this move if you got a stud running back, and there's not too many more that you would take. I mean, you got to have a stud. Maybe James Cook. Alvin Kamara. I mean, you gotta have a stud. Okay. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of curious. I need a little more information because here's what I'm looking at. Number one, are you in desperate need of a receiver? Because you have Devontae. Keep in mind, Devontae Smith, even with A.J. Brown, he's not going to play next week. He's still, you could get 100 and a touchdown, but he's really a number two. Amari Cooper is another guy, also a number two. With those tackles getting healthy in Cleveland, his numbers are going to go up. Ingram's really good. I mean, Ingram's a guy I would have told you is a starter. I don't know what happened in last week's game. I don't know if it's a lingering issue. I wish I could give you a yes or no answer. I'm leaning against it, but I mean, if you got a really solid running back core and you need help at receiver and you don't have a tight end, yeah. The thing is, Ramondre Stevenson is same issue with Barkley. I don't think he's going to stay healthy. Look, when you're 245 and you're running between the tackles in the NFL, it's really hard to stay healthy. Didn't do it last year, and then when he did come back, he really wasn't the same guy. Right now, he's healthy. He's a legitimate start. I mean, another thing about Barkley is that you're getting an elite stud. You're going to miss some games. I'm leaning against it because I'm leaning against it, but I need a little more information on your roster, if you don't mind. But right, just I'm kind of leaning against it, but you have some good pieces in play for a trade. Depending on your roster, you may want to do this if you're lacking at a receiver, because one thing about Smith and Cooper is that these guys are guys. These are twos. This isn't like an elite receiving core. If you're struggling, like maybe you picked up Travis Kelce and he's your starting tight end, I would, Kelce's really been hurting a lot of fantasy guys. I've been saying this for a long. I'm a diehard Chiefs fan, if you're not aware. I've been telling people if Travis Kelce's slowing down, he's not the same guy. Somebody said, if I'm a fantasy football owner, should I be worried about Travis Kelce? And I've been saying, yeah, absolutely. Do I think he'll get a little more production? Sure. But initial reaction, I'm leaning against it because one thing with Barkley is when he's healthy, and he is healthy, you're getting in I'm assuming it's PPR, you're getting 20 to 25 walked. All right. Ramondre Stevenson, you got a guy you got to start. Okay. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson's a starter unless you have, I mean, to be honest with you, I can't picture a team where you wouldn't have Ramondre start either as running back 1, 2, or flex. Devontae Smith and Amari Cooper, if your receiving core is not doing well, you need a 2. I would do it, and then maybe you're in a bad situation. But the one thing about Barkley is that, I mean, as of right now, he's going to get you 20 to 25 every week. That's a lock. But depending on how your roster is. So I need a little more information, but I'm leaning against it right now. Taco, welcome back, brother. 2-0. Congratulations on being 2-0. Okay, let me before I answer your question, I want to make sure I get everybody's question here. One thing about when you're 2-0, one thing I always tell people about when I talk about fantasy football is you just want to get into the playoffs, because I've seen a lot of 1 seeds that dominate. They're like 12-1, 12-2. They get in the playoffs and like their top 3 or 4 guys go down. They lose to a 6 seed. So you're in a situation where I want to get you some guys that you're in a situation where you may be able to get somebody like you mentioned, Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase had a bad couple weeks, right? Jamar Chase had a bad couple weeks. This week, I really, really like Jamar Chase. All right. So I, you got offered Jamar Chase. I like that. Kenneth Walker. I should have done it before I came on. I got kind of wrapped up in looking at the Hall of Fame, and I'm a huge NFL history buff. I have to check out Kenneth Walker's injury report. If he plays, he's a good guy. Kyron Robinson's still a good guy. So okay, so let me. I'm ranting here. I'm pretty jacked up today. 2-0 got offered Jamar Chase and Kenneth Walker, 2 really good players. For Kyron Robinson and Godwin, 2 other really good players. Take it. Ooh, that's a good one. You have Hurts, Kyron, Connor, AJ Brown, Godwin, and Laporta. You have Jay Mason, your bench, Pickens, Rome, Allegier, Dowell, etc. Also got offered Tyreek and Chubb for the same. Ooh. Okay. One thing you got offered Tyreek. Let me backtrack here. You got offered Tyreek and Chubb for Kyron and Godwin. Okay, and then you also got offered Jamar Chase and Kenneth Walker. Okay. See, here's the drill, because you're 2-0. And you know what? I really want to tell you to take Tyreek Hill and Chubb for Kyron and Godwin, and I'll tell you why I would make this move. Oh, wait a minute. No, you can't make this. Okay, you got Mason. So you have Mason. You have Con. Okay, I'm gonna throw something out there, because you're 2-0. I would recommend making a move for Kyron and Godwin for Tyreek and Chubb, and I'll tell you why. You got AJ Brown. Okay, he's not going to play this week. Hopefully, you know that. All right, he's not going to play this week. You're okay with Pickens. You're okay with Pickens. Roma Duze is probably not going to play as well. Algier, Dowdle, you don't have anything there. You have absolutely nothing. Connor is going to be good. Okay, Connor's going to be good, but I do think he's going to be phased out. I really think he's going to be phased out. I really like Trey Benson quite a bit. Connor also, he takes a lot of punishment, but you have a good situation there. Okay. Right now, your starters are Kyron and Connor. I'm sorry. Right now, your starters are Connor and Mason. Okay. I would get Nick Chubb. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This is very risky, but when Nick Chubb comes back from injury, you're going to be at full force on your offensive line. Okay. Nick Chubb is when he comes back, he's going to be a top 5 running back. Okay. Connor's going to fall off. All right. I don't really believe that Mason once CMC comes back, I think Mason goes back to being, he won't get 10 touches a game. Okay. Tyreek Hill, even with the quarterback situation, because they use him all over, he's still going to get you a lot of value. He's going to get you more points than Godwin. Okay. I would only recommend this move if you're 2-0. Now, keep in mind, Chubb may not be ready to go week number 5. I mean, I'd like to double check on that. I hope you can get back to me because I really want to tell you to take Tyreek and Chubb because Tyreek instantly is an instant starter. You want to keep A.J. Brown. You want to keep A.J. Brown. He's not going to play this week. He could play week 4, and week 4 he can get you 125 and a touch, and you're thanking me. I really like the Tyreek and Chubb if you're 2-0. If you're 0-2, I might consider chasing Walker if Walker's healthy. Here's the drill with Nick Chubb. I'm a huge Nick Chubb guy. The 2 offensive tackles, I think 1 or 2 of them are coming back this week. By the time Nick Chubb comes back into the starting lineup, the offense is going to be better. He's a monster. He's a top 5 running back when he's healthy. Is he going to be the same guy? You got some questions, but Tyreek Hill is a guy that you want. A lot of people are downplaying Tyreek Hill because of the backup quarterback. I'm not one of those guys. The reason why is they use him in the backfield. They use him on screens. They just try to get him the ball in an open field. You're in a PPR league. You're going to get Tyreek Hill still going to provide you value with a backup quarterback. Now, I've been saying if I'm Tua, retire. He's on the IR. He wants to come back. If 4 weeks from now, if you're getting Tua throwing to Tyreek Hill, you're going to thank me. I still think Tyreek Hill's not going to dip in fantasy production. Nick Chubb's a risk, but I'm telling you this, you're 2-0. And the problem that you have is that Connor's touches I think they're going to go down. Mason's touches are definitely going down in a couple weeks. By the time Nick Chubb comes back, CMC's going to come back. So Mason's touches, that game that CMC comes back, that first game, you may get 10 to 15 touches. Maybe you get over 15 touches if you're Mason. More than likely, that's going to drop to under 10. Nick Chubb will come back and it'll replace those. I would hold on to Mason just in case, but then you're going to start Chubb. Another thing is that if Connor's touches go down and Mason's touches go down, what do you have? Well, you have Kyren Williams, very solid player. I'm a big Kyren Williams fan. There's all sorts of problems with the Rams right now. 4 linemen are out. Puka and Cup are out. Your situation, I like the Tyreek and Chubb if you can get those guys. Keep in mind, Godwin's a solid dude. I'm a big Kyren Williams fan. I have a problem with the Rams. So if you hopefully I answered your question. I will say this, if Chubb's not the same dude or he's out longer than those 4 weeks, you're going to hate me. And I don't want that. Yeah, man, I'm going to try to help because I want you to win your league. And the one thing I also don't want is I remember one dude, it was like, I think it was 12-1, like 12-1, 12-2, had like the most points. He was just killing everybody, gets into the playoffs, and I think it was like 1 versus 6 or whatever, lost in the first round. And he's just like, we real cool guy. I remember he came up and he's like, I don't believe this. Like, I'm just killing everybody. I get into the playoffs and like, it was just one of those weird things too. It was like his starting quarterback had a bad game. It was like 3 interceptions. Like his whole roster it's seriously like every game was like 150 points, and then playoff week 90. And yeah, Houdini, man, that's what I'm here for, brother. I really, really, really want you to go into it. Resec13 dude. Hey Dan, I have an offer I'd like your opinion on. I would trade Olave and Stevenson for Dobbins and Gibbs and Mooney. I'm a level with you. I already like it. I'm very, very high on J.K. Dobbins. Um, they don't throw in the ball more enough. That could change. Dobbins, as long as he is healthy, he's missed so much time though. Okay, so just throwing that out there. My lineup would look like this: Daniels, Lamb. Oh, I like CD Lamb. Garrett Wilson, still going to get a lot of touches. Didn't have a good week last week. You'll like that. James Cook must start. Gibbs, Kelsey, JSN flex. Oh God. Okay, so you know what? The one thing I'll tell you is that if you've been watching my show, you know I love Olave. You know I'm an Olave fan. But I'm looking at your lineup, and I like Lamb, and I like Wilson. All right, so giving up Olave when you got JSN, I like that. I do like that. Okay, I do like that quite a bit. So your lineup, you would trade Olave and Stevenson. Oh man. Oh, let me read this again. I feel like I'm missing something. I trade. So you're giving up Olave, Stevenson, and Dobbins. You're going to get Gibbs and Mooney? No. No. Do not do this. No. Okay, Gibbs is splitting touches. Mooney is getting a few more points than he was expected, but you have Kyle Pitts, you have Drake London. You look Atlanta, yeah, they put up 22 and 10, so they're scoring 16 points again, playing against Kansas City this week. No, I would not. I absolutely would not do this. And I'll tell you why. Okay, so you got Cook, right? I mean, this should be your starting lineup. I mean, you would have Cook, Dobbins, Stevenson as your flex. All right. JSN I would put on the bench. This does not help your lineup. Adding Gibbs and Mooney, but giving up Stevenson and Dobbins and Olave, that doesn't help at all. I'm gonna let you know right now. I mean, Kelsey could. I expect Kelsey to bounce back, but is he that stud number one tight end? No. This does not help your lineup getting rid of two stud running backs and a guy who, look, Olave is I think has 90 something yards through two games. I know he went 2 through 11 week 1. I think 84 yards week 2. At the end of the year, Olave is going to have about 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. Okay. This is not getting rid of two stud running backs. So you can add Gibbs, who splits time with. Here's your issue, okay? Gibbs splits time with Montgomery. Montgomery is going to get a lot of those touchdowns, okay? You have to figure out a way to use Laporta, Amon-Ra. Stevenson, when he's healthy, is a number 1, okay? I mean, that's a lot. Dobbins is a must start. Gibbs would be a better option than JSN in your flex, but this does not help your lineup at all. You got 2 starters in Stevenson and Dobbins that you're giving up for Mooney, who's a guy that would ride your bench, and you also have Gibbs, who, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's going to have one of those games like A-Chain had on Monday night, where maybe he gets like 25 touches and 150 yards and a pair of touchdowns. But at the end of the year, you got a guy who's probably going to get 1,200 total yards and 6 to 8 touchdowns, where you're going to get that type of performance from Stevenson. Listen, if Stevenson and or Dobbins stays healthy in your league, you're giving somebody a running back number 1. Now, I understand that both Stevenson and Dobbins don't catch a lot of passes. Both of them have that 3-down potential. Do not make this trade, please. Don't do it. But let me know what you do. If you do pull the trigger and it works, I'm here in your corner, but I'm looking at you giving up Olave, who's riding your bench with CD Lamb. By the way, great job drafting too. 2 stud receivers, a stud running back, James Cook. I love. Cook, by the way, should have a monster game on. And also, I'm kind of a fan on having players play on Monday night. Garrett Wilson, I'll be pulling for you Thursday night. Daniels, another guy's going to play Monday night. I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, but please don't make this trade. If you do make it, hit me up and let me know. Denver Gator! What's up, fantasy nerds? How'd your lineups go this weekend? Hopefully we get lots of information. Houdini, man, thank you so much, man. It was kind of funny because when I want so the whole point of doing this show was this is my first time doing Afternoon Delight. Usually I just do in the past I've always just gone on Friday nights, and this year I said, you know what, I'm going to go Monday through Friday. And when I was planning on doing the lineup, I was just going to do Wednesdays, and it was going to be a college football / fantasy. I had no idea so many people would tune in for fantasy because it's something that I've always offered, but I've never, decided. I haven't done. A couple years ago, I did a fantasy football sleeper because every fantasy football draft I've ever been to goes the same way. 1, 2, and 3, everybody knows who to pick. Around anywhere between round 6 through 8, everybody starts gravitating towards me because it's like, okay, Dan, who's this guy? I had one guy we invited. I used to work at Sprint. It's now T-Mobile, and one of the guys invited one of the supervisors who just really didn't know football. So after the 4th round, he just sat next to me, pulled out his fantasy football sheet. Luckily, we had everybody. He's like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? And then a couple rounds later, and then next thing I know, it was like 5 people, rounds, I think 7 through 15 or whatever it was, would be like, Dan, who's this? And that's how every fantasy football draft I've ever been to works, where rounds, we're all sitting apart, and then somewhere between round 6 to 8, everybody just kind of collapses into me, and it's always been that way. So I felt like I could easily do a show. It just hasn't worked that way. But then this year, the first time I did it, I really wasn't expecting it. That's why I decided to do fantasy football Wednesday and Thursday. I didn't have a chance. I got kind of distracted. In case you can't tell, I'm kind of a hyperactive type of guy. I got distracted by looking at the Hall of Fame releasings that came out. I really should have been paying more attention to who's injured, who's not, and that's one thing I really, really, really wanted to do before I came in, but I got a little distracted, so I'm sorry about that. But man, I'm really glad you got a kick out of it, and the whole point of doing this show is I really just want to talk football. I'm a Chiefs fan, but I want to talk football with 32 different fan bases. If I'm being really honest, I probably should have just made a Chiefs channel. If I'd do it all over again, I would have just made a Chiefs channel and then just kind of try to expand. But the whole point of doing this show is I wanted to talk to all 32 teams. So hopefully nothing would make me happier than have you win your fantasy league. Would you say Braylon only has a good chance of being the starter if Brees gets hurt? Also, is Jalen Wright's time up? No, number one, I hated the Jalen Wright pick for Miami. Miami gave up a 3rd round in the draft next year so you can get Jalen Wright, and you didn't need him. You had essentially the same player in Devin A-Chain, who was playing really well. I didn't really like the pick. I wouldn't say his time's up because you got Mozart who got hurt. A-Chain is never going to be a guy that's going to stay healthy. He does look like, I always call it the NFL 20, and it doesn't have to be 20 pounds, but when you hit the NFL, you put on some weight, some size, and it looks like A-Chain, because he came out of A&M. He was I keep on calling Texas A&M. I forget it's the SEC. I'm showing my age a little bit, but I almost said Big 12, but SEC. He's an SEC track dude, so he joins, puts on some size. He's never going to be a guy that's going to, be that 300 touch a guy. Jeff Wilson, I thought was going to get a lot more touches on Thursday night. Really didn't. Wright is a guy that I thought was a bad move for a team like Miami to make. His time's not up, but he's not really ever going to be a full-time dude. And I felt like his value would be much higher on a different team. As far as Braylon Allen, it's kind of funny because me and Denver Gator is, this is my buddy Denver Gator here. This is a guy, Braylon Allen, when he was a freshman at Wisconsin. I was just head over heels in love with the guy, and I think he's on the right team. Is he a guy that's going to be utilized like he was last weekend? No, he's not. If Breece Hall does get hurt, Braylon Allen's not the same type of dude. Braylon Allen, if you're not aware, he went to Wisconsin, and Wisconsin was trying to figure out, do you play linebacker or you play running back? Because he's like, he entered college, he was 17, he's like 245 and looked like a man among boys. And Wisconsin decided to play him at running back, really worked out. He's not the same type. Breece Hall is a true 3-down back. I know Braylon Allen, I think, caught a touchdown pass. He's not really a receiver. Breece Hall goes down. Braylon Allen's going to take over, but they're going to change the offense, become more of an old school power type running team. And for an old school football guy, I would love it. It would be great. Braylon Allen, I know he had a good game. If you pick him up and you start him, you're not going to like it because he's the type of guy that he had his flash. Next week, I could see him just keep in mind, I could see him getting like 6 carries, 15 yards and scoring a touchdown. And you may be like, oh, Danny got a touchdown. He's not really that 3-down back. If Breece Hall does go down, Braylon Allen's going to take over. How much value I have in fantasy, I don't know, because I really think that he's really more of that old school 1-2 first and second down runner. You're in the New York Jets. What's your number one concern? Keeping Aaron Rodgers upright. You know how much experience Braylon Allen has blocking? Trust me, he didn't do it at college. So it's a completely different type of offense. You have to understand something. If Breece Hall goes down and Braylon Allen enters the game, they're going to take him out on passing situations because he has no idea how to block. Never had to do it in college, and I think you can kind of tell they're not going to ask him to do that much in the pros. Now, Breece Hall, a guy that I have a big man crush on, wasn't asked to do much in college. His college quarterback, by the way, was Brock Purdy. Little fun fact, but he's a lot more capable than a guy like Braylon Allen. One thing about Braylon Allen is I promise you, in practice, during the off season, during mini camps, during training camp, he's going to be blocking because his goal is to make sure Aaron Rodgers stays upright. If Breece Hall goes down, Braylon Allen will start any type of passing situation. He's not going to play. So hopefully I answered all your questions. I went kind of on a rant there. I'm 2-0, and I play a guy who has Coop out and K9. How about yourself, Gator? Oh, I had the craziest win of my life. I had Drake London, needed 6.2. He got yeah. It's petty, but I love having a guy play on Monday night. I love having a guy play on Monday night. So whoever that guy is that has Cook and Jaden Daniels, that's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome. That is awesome. Congratulations, Houdini. That is awesome. Houdini, Dan is the king of football nerds. Been a great friend for about 4 years. Yeah, we've known each other for about 4 years. Yeah, I love the NFL draft. I really want to get a lot more. I really want to do a lot more college football, but with fantasy football kind of blowing up and unforeseen circumstances, I do want to talk some college. I brought it up a little last week. I'll try to integrate it in there because there's some really good stuff with the draft. I think this is going to be a fun draft. Last year was a great draft, and I didn't do as much as I wanted to do this year. I'm hoping to do a lot more draft coverage because I'm a big fan of the NFL draft. Derek, what's up, brother? Send money and Shakir for Ayuk and Eckler PPR. You know, I'm going to level with you. I really like that move because Brandon Ayuk is going to be integrated a lot more in that offense. Deebo Samuel's out. Of course, CMC's out. I hate to say it. I know I'm going to just be a complete jerk here. I know Kittle had a great game. You can't count on him. I just that alone. And by the way, I like Shakir. It's a great story and everything. But I mean, let's just. I'm skipping to Eckler and Montgomery for right now. Okay. Your receivers, you're getting a guy that you have to start versus somebody that you're hoping will be a number 2. Okay. Your wide receivers are Garrett Wilson. I like that. Reed, I don't like because what was if I'm remembering correctly, he's coming off an injury. You have Malik Willis as your quarterback, who's going to do a lot of running. T. Higgins, I still don't know his situation. Deontay. Always get the last name mixed up. In Carolina, I said this yesterday. I really believe that Andy Dalton's going to add something to that offense. So you're going to get an uptick in performance. But I mean, you have a lot of guys here on your roster that you have some legitimate questions about. None of them you really want to start except for Garrett Wilson. Tyler Johnson, So I like the fact that you're getting Ayuk on your team. I like that move by itself. You want to get rid of Montgomery. I get that. Splits time with Gibbs. I like Montgomery. I really think that Detroit should use Montgomery more than Gibbs. It's hard to say. As far as Eckler's concerned, I think they're going to integrate him more into the offense. Brian Robinson's going to be the main guy. So, I mean, I would take a look at your other running backs. So you have Gibbs. So it's kind of funny. You have Gibbs or Montgomery. I mean, you're in a PPR league. I mean, geez, Jalen Wright, you And you have Benson as your running back. Man. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of what you got currently. The thing is I haven't had a chance to check out the Dolphins running back situation because I I meant to do that before I got on the air. I apologize for that. And that's why I'm doing a fantasy football Wednesday and Thursday. The thing with A-Chain is, bear with me 1 second here. And ESPN's not the best source, by the way, especially for injury reports. Mozart 2 hours ago is present for practice. Got to keep an eye out on it because what you're looking at, Mozart, if he's healthy, A-Chain had a great week, right? Mozart plays, you're cutting his touches in half. I like the fact that it's kind of hard having both Gibbs and Montgomery because you can't really start them both. I like this move a lot. I like this move a lot because you get a wide receiver number one, which you don't have except for Garrett Wilson. Eckler and Montgomery, both. I think Eckler's a guy that could really help you out. Keep an eye out on the injury report because you have to figure out if you're going to start A-Chain or not. I like the move. Ayok and Wilson become your starters. If T. Higgins comes back, I have no. By the way, you want to bench Reed until Jordan Love comes back. I would not recommend trading him because once Jordan Love comes back, he would be option 3 or 4. When T. Higgins comes back, I kind of want to see how they integrate him into the offense. because they have some young receivers there in Cincinnati. Jermaine Burton had a 47-yard reception on his first NFL catch. The other kid out of Penn had 2 touchdowns. I can't pronounce his name. It's funny. I had to look it up, and I wasn't even close. I'm not even going to try, but he had 2 touchdowns last week. I'm going to really pay attention to the Washington-Cincinnati battle because if those 2 other receivers start playing well, Higgins does come back. They may just try to phase him out. This is part of the business side of the game. And I apologize. I'm going on a long rant kind of. In order to keep T. Higgins' value on the team, they may put the younger guys and then keep his touches down. That way they could say, hey, listen, you want to come back? You only had 40 or 50 receptions, sign them to a cheaper deal. Could be a trade candidate too. But I like this move. I'll have Montgomery and Gibbs. I like Montgomery a little better. Gibbs is the type of guy that it's kind of weird because you could have a situation where both these running backs do well. More than likely, it's either one or the other. Keep an eye out on A-Chain. Wright's a guy that you're not really going to use. So, and I'll be honest with you, I'm drawing a blank on Benson. I'm a little embarrassed about that, but I would make this move because Ayok and Wilson become your starters for this week. So I like that move. You have Kamara, 3 wide receiver league. Cup went down. Garrett Wilson. I understand Garrett Wilson's underperforming. I understand that this is going to continue to go well. Kamara, you do have Kamara. So you were asking about this trade earlier. So you do have Kamara. That's solid. But you need some other receivers. Okay, so since you have Kamara, that's a big difference. You have Cup. Ooh, God. And okay, so you want to keep Wilson. And I understand why you want to do this. Okay, this actually makes a little more sense. So you have Garrett Wilson, and you also have Cup, and you're worried about Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's performance is going to uptick for you. Okay, you already have a stud running back in Kamara, so getting rid of Barkley and you get a guy in Ramondre is going to benefit from you. You have some solid. One thing about Devontae Smith is, he's going to produce a little bit even when AJ Brown comes back. I'm hoping against the Saints he has a good game. I think he will. And then Amari Cooper's performance is going to go up. So being that you do have, I mean, you already got a guy. This your trade makes a lot more sense. Because you had Cooper Kupp, you were banking on him. Garrett Wilson, I get he's underperforming. You're going to be fine there, but I could understand what you're doing here is that you're getting a couple guys that are going to start here, and you may be starting both Smith and Cooper, and Ramondre would replace Barkley, and Ingram, I don't know the extent of his injury. This actually makes a little more sense because you need a guy to come in and replace Cook. You may make that move. You might make that move, and here's the issue I have against making that move is that whoever you make this trade to, you're going to go ahead and get a guy that you're going to watch Barkley have some good games, but with Stevenson, you have Kamara and Stevenson, which is good. With Kupp going down, you have some other options. God, that would be hard to pull the trigger on. I might make that. I might make that trade because but I'm gonna encourage you. You're going against a tough Patriots defense. I'm aware. I'm aware. I still would let's say you make the trade today because you're trying to. So it depends on who your other receiver is, because you have 3 wide receivers in your league. Where was that comment? Here, I'm sorry, missed the first one. All right. Depending on who your other receivers are, you may want to start Smith and Cooper this week. I don't know your tight end situation either. You could also start Ingram. I didn't have a chance to check on his injury status because it was a fluke. It was during warmups he got injured. I didn't even know that. So you may be in a situation where you make this move. You're starting all 4 of these guys. But you do have Kamara, so I'm leaning towards that trade. It's really hard because Barkley is a guy that you're giving away 20 to 25 points. That's why, but I get this. I still would start Wilson. Now, if you pull the trigger on that trade, you have a tough decision to make because you have to look at the Cleveland Browns and you have to decide. I know Amari Cooper had a bad week last week. I get that. All right, you're going against the Giants, not a bad defense, really underrated defense, terrible offense. If both those tackles come back, you may want to start Amari Cooper. I wish I could sit here and say yes or no. I get why you want to do it. I also look, you're giving away a lot of points. In Barkley, but if Kupp went down, I still like Garrett Wilson. I still think you have to start him, but you're getting a couple guys that now. One thing you understand when AJ Brown comes back, I mean Devontae Smith. He had a good opportunity last week. Keep in mind, Falcons have a really, really, really good secondary. Don't worry. I mean, Devontae Smith's going to get that 100-yard game with a touchdown, but for the most part, you're guy number 2. Amari Cooper still going to be solid. You're not going to get the performance you got from Cooper Kupp, though. That's what kind of sucks. But I mean, 3 wide receiver league. I get why you want a couple number 2 receivers. I also get why you want a tight end. Which by the way, one thing I will say. Is Ingram's a guy that I thought would have a big season, and the injury really, really, really bothers me. Reese, hey Dan, I have an offer. I'd like your opinion on iTrade. Oh, okay. I already got this one, right? I'm almost positive I answered this. Oh, okay. Yeah. You came over from Twitch. Okay. I did get this. I'm sorry, Reese. I'm sorry. Got a little tied up here. I want to make sure I got this correctly. Roslyn, okay, so listen, I'm gonna take a very, very quick commercial break. Stay tuned. I'm gonna get to your question right after these messages. This is gonna be a fast one, so stay tuned, okay? I can't make Fantasy Football Wednesday and see Dan's perfect hair. I have so many questions, but I can't make the show. What am I going to do? Well, listen, don't cry because Dan has Fantasy Football Thursday. Did you not get your question answered? Did your trade not go through? Maybe you need some help on Thursday Night Football. Dan has another day where all questions are answered and anything goes. Join the fun for Fantasy Football Thursday, but stay tuned as we go into hour 2 of Afternoon Delight. Yes! 1 hour's in the books. Hour 2 of Afternoon Delight is here. Just so you know, that was an actress. I was not making people cry. I just want to emphasize that enough. I'm not making girls cry just for the purpose of a commercial. She was a paid actress doing a fantastic job. But just so you know, if I don't get your questions today, I'm going to be live tomorrow. And there's also some stories for the injury report I want to follow up on. I want to make sure that I'm not telling you to pick up a player who's going to have a bad day. Like I mentioned, Amari Cooper. I want to find out those tackles are healthy because that's a big issue. If you got 2 tackles that are banged up against the New York Giants, a team with a pretty good defense and a pretty good pass rush, that's a big deal. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right information. So it'll be Fantasy Football Wednesday and Fantasy Football Thursday. Social media links are below, or you can go old school, dantalksfootball@yahoo.com. I will get back to you after the show if you have a question that I didn't answer, or hey Dan, the show was over. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'll get to you. And then, of course, Thursday Night Football is going to be a really good game. I'm really excited about this one, Jets and Patriots. But told you, Brayson. Hopefully, I got the name right. Trade Mahomes, Jacobs, and Debo for Justin Jefferson. Maybe I can get Ridley or Charbonnet. Ooh, man. God. Okay, so I don't like this right away. Not full disclosure, I'm a Chiefs fan. I'll tell you. Let me tell you number one. Number one, Justin Jefferson's a little banged up, questionable as of right now today. I expect Justin Jefferson to play. It was funny. I work with a Vikings fan. He was telling me how excited he was. He goes, "Who's better than Justin Jefferson?" And I was like, "I don't know." Look, Josh Jacobs had a big game. Now the Colts rushing defense is terrible, but Josh Jacobs, I was a little worried that he wouldn't fit in that offense. He does. Okay. Jordan Love's going to be out for another couple days, for another couple games. Even when he comes back, I mean, you're giving up Jacobs. Debo's going to be out for a little bit, so I understand you wanting to get rid of him. I know Mahomes didn't have a good game. I get that. I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking. You're like, hey, look, Dan, I was expecting Mahomes to put up, MVP type numbers through 2 weeks. I got 2 duds. I get that. You don't, what you're giving up is your starting quarterback. A guy that I have a hard time believing you have two. I have a hard time believing you have 2 or 3 running backs on your roster better than Jacobs. And one thing about Debo is that even though he's going to be out for a week or two, when he comes back, he's going to be a solid performer. You're giving a lot up for a stud. I mean, let's be honest, but he's a little banged up. I would not make this move because you're giving up your starting quarterback. I'm Mahomes a must start. I know what you heard me say, Dan. You just talked about how good Atlanta's secondary is. Great secondary. Justin Simmons has intercepted Mahomes more than any other defensive back in the NFL. Bates, one of the best safeties in football. AJ Terrell, one of the best corners. They're playing in Atlanta. They're hot right now. Nobody's talking about that Falcons defense. Really good defense. Really good defense. Defensive-minded coach. Still got to start Mahomes. Yeah, I'll be honest. If I had Josh Allen and Mahomes and I had to pick one to start on fantasy football this week, I would start Josh Allen. More than likely, if you have Mahomes, you didn't get Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson's another guy that you may possibly, if he start over. CJ Stroud, maybe. Don't trade away your starting quarterback, any really, really good running back, and a guy that in a couple weeks is going to get you some points for Justin Jefferson when he's banged up. Don't make this. As far as getting Ridley or Charbonnet, Ridley, if he's available in your waiver wire, I would strongly suggest picking him up. He may be able to substitute Debo. I'm not a fan of Ridley. That whole offense in Tennessee is really bad. Charbonnet, for whatever reason, I was really expecting Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet to be more of a Batman and Robin duo, but for whatever reason, when Kenneth Walker is there, they let Charbonnet look at the field every he's going to get like 8 touches or something. You'd have to keep an eye out on that. Waiver wire. I'm assuming since you say Ridley or Charbonnet, it sounds like you're looking for a flex. I recommended Antonio Gibson to somebody who has CMC, and he had a pretty good game. Antonio Gibson's another guy I think may start getting some touches. I was trying to figure out with the Chiefs. Kareem Hunt was signed to the practice squad. Is he going to play Sunday? I don't think he is. Sam, I'm butchering the name. Samurai P. Ryan played with. I think he played with Denver last year, but former Cincinnati Bengal. I had kind of a man crush on this guy coming out of Oklahoma. He could be the guy that gets about 20 touches this week. Can you pick him up? I'm still kind of following that because if Kareem Hunt is active Sunday, I wouldn't do that. But if he's not, P. Ryan this week alone might be a guy that you could put in your flex. And I'm assuming since you said Ridley or Charbonnet that you need a flex. Keep an eye out on P. Ryan because he's a guy that may be the guy that gets 20 touches and a touchdown that nobody else knows about. And I kind of like that. If you're a Chiefs fan or you watch, like myself, or you watch preseason, you saw Carson Steele. He's a rookie. He had a fumble. What's your number one goal if you're a running back in the Kansas City Chiefs offense? Well, you got to protect 15. You want a rookie, or do you want a guy who's been in the NFL and experienced third down back? And that's why I really kind of like P. Ryan if Kareem Hunt isn't activated to 53-man roster to get about 20 touches. Consider that instead. Don't trade away a couple starters for Justin Jefferson when he's banged up. Houdini, Houdini, that's too much. Will Joe Mixon be okay to start? I picked up Stevenson in guess. I would start Stevenson over Mixon. I don't know the answer to that, Craig. Great question, by the way, because Joe Mixon had a really great week 1 and okay week 2. Of course, got hurt with the hip drop. I don't want to rant. I'm a lot of news was made about the hip drop and the refs not enforcing it. You can't really enforce that play live. It's so much easier on TV. It's so much faster in person. If you're not familiar, I remember a former Chiefs player played with the Chargers. He says that in the NFL, when you get hit, the players move so fast, you don't even know what number. It's just kind of a blur, and then you're asking for these guys to make a judgment call like that. It's different than pass interference and holding. It's completely different. So as far as the hip drop thing, I'm not too mad about Joe Mixon. I haven't had a chance to check out the injury report, and I apologize. They released today the Hall of Fame nominees, and about a half an hour, a half an hour before, I was kind of going over the whole list. But tonight and tomorrow before the show, I'm going to go over Joe Mixon. If he's healthy, is a good play. I know the Jets had a good defense, but this year they're not the same defense. So out of Mixon and Stevenson, I would start Stevenson. Thursday night game. It's a short week. I know you're going against a good Jets defense, but if I'm New England, I think Stevenson's a must start this week, especially if you have Joe Mixon. So if you picked up Stevenson, start him. I know he's going against tough defense. I know he's going on the road, but I think Stevenson you start this week, and hopefully Friday you come on and you're happy that I told you to start Stevenson when he gets about 25, 30 points for you. Knock on wood. But yeah, start Stevenson. I'll keep an eye out on Mixon too. I just want to let you know, because that's somebody I really want to follow up on. I don't know the status, but start Stevenson. Just Dre, what's up, man? I want another running back on my roster. I'm wondering if I should offer Brian Thomas Jr. So I have a regular. Before I finish it, I just want to let you know I have a regular who I haven't seen yet. Hopefully Perry's okay. Since March, he was telling me Brian Thomas Jr. is the best receiver in the draft. So if Perry is listening out there, showing some love for my brother here, and a defensive player for Pollard. So you are in a league with some defensive players. My buddy Tim's in a defensive player draft, and he always hits me up for linebackers. And I kind of went through a long list because when you're doing when you're in a defensive fantasy football league, a lot of people think that you want to get that best defense, and that's not necessarily true. What you want to do is get linebackers on a bad defense because they constantly have to make plays, right? You have to get a lot of tackles. Opposite is the Bengals. I think Jermaine Pratt last week against the Chiefs had something like 17 tackles. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the Bengals linebacker's name. Logan Wilson. I'm sorry about that. He had 13 tackles. But a lot of times what you want to do is you want to have a defense that's so-so because those linebackers are making plays all over the field. They're going to get you the 12 to 15 tackle range. So you don't want to get the Like, for example, I've been gushing about the Bears defense that have TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds. I would rather get those linebackers on Jacksonville. I can't pronounce his name. Forsay Oluquan. And then the other guy out of Utah. Oh, crap. Forgot his name. Oh, crap. Like 26th pick in the draft coming out of Utah. I just loved him coming out of Utah. I am so embarrassed. I can't think of his name. I have to, 33. Devin Lloyd. God, I can't believe I forgot that name. Those guys are better for fantasy football than the Bears linebackers. So sorry for the rant. Okay, let me get back to your question. I'm tickled because you have a guy who's I think you're the first person to ask or bring up that you're in a league that's defensive players in it. So I'm kind of geeked out about that. So I kind of ranted. And a defensive player for Pollard. My other receivers are Coop, Diggs, Worthy, and St. Brown. So, oh God. So, Cup's going to be out for a while. Diggs hasn't done anything. Worthy, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Dan, you're a Chiefs fan. He had 2 touchdowns week 1. I think he looked at the field. Juju Smith-Schuster is a guy that's going to take a lot of touches away. Hollywood Brown's out for a couple weeks. Worthy's one of those guys that he's going to get a handful of touches every game, but at the end of the season, he's going to have 5 to 7 touchdowns. Not a guy you want to start. And I say that, and then, he'll have that game, against Atlanta where he has 2 50-yard touchdowns. I understand you want a guy like Pollard, a 3-down back. I'm looking at your receivers though, and you got Amon-Ra, and that's it. And then I think you have to start Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, you're giving up a starter, a guy with I'm a level with you. Brian Thomas Jr. is a guy that has a lot of potential. I understand that Jacksonville's offense is just terrible. I get why you would want to make this move. I really do. I'm looking at your receivers, and Coop, Diggs, and Worthy, you're giving up a legitimate starter. I'm really geeked out because you're in a defensive league, and you're the first person to ask about defensive players. And it's funny, my really good buddy of mine's in a defensive league. He asks me questions all the time, but it's kind of a rarity. So a lot of questions. Let me see here. Running back room is Aaron Jones, Montgomery, Hunt, and Gibson. Kareem Hunt, the one the Chiefs just signed. I also like the fact you picked up Gibson. This makes sense, by the way, why you want another running back, because you have Aaron Jones and you have Montgomery. I would not make this move at all. And the reason why is that you're receiving you Brian Thomas Jr. I know there's a lot of holes in Jacksonville right now, and the offense looks bad. You make this move, and Tyree Sparks takes some of those touches away from Pollard, and Brian Thomas Jr. has 100 and a touchdown. You're going to be really pissed. Who are you starting over Brian Thomas Jr.? And by the way, I mean, I would roll with Jones and Montgomery, but I understand why. Because you're in a defensive draft, there's so many defensive questions I would want to ask. I mean, who are you giving up instead? But I'll let you know right now. Depending on what your lineup is, if you're giving up a starter plus Brian Thomas Jr. for Pollard, I wouldn't do that. But I 100% understand why you want another starter. I also, if you heard me earlier, Ramondre Stevenson is not a guy I really think is going to get 20 to 30 touches every single week, because I really think that By the way, Ramondre Stevenson goes out. Gibson is that 25 touch a guy right away. So don't do that. I'm assuming you're talking about Kareem Hunt. I get the logic behind it. I get the logic behind it. Just don't do it. Especially for giving up a starter, because Brian Thomas Jr. right now is your starting receiver opposite St. Brown. I do need a little more information, though, about your defensive players. What about Mahomes, Jacob, and Kelsey and Waddle for JJ? No, I mean, listen, you definitely don't want to do that. Listen, you want to. You're giving up Mahomes, your starter. Jacobs is probably your starter. I know Kelsey's had some bad games, but I get your love affair with JJ. Don't make this trade. Don't give up multiple starters for a starter who's got a bad ankle, because you're going to lose, multiple players. And JJ doesn't. I mean, look, he was hurt last year. He's hurt this year already. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I understand why, but don't give up multiple starters for Justin Jefferson, please. And by the way, like the first game, Mahomes goes for 350 and 4 touchdowns, and it's going to happen several times. You're going to say, I'm glad I listened to Dan. Mahomes is the type of guy that's going to win you some championships. Justin Jefferson, yeah, I mean, golden in a PPR league, especially after last week, but bad ankle, and you're giving up multiple starters. So, CC Cameron Christensen, I like CC. I think it's cool. I have Stroud, Gibbs, Ramondre, Chase, Nico, McBride, ETN. Nice job. Nice job. I mean, you got a couple really, really good guys here. Some guys I like. I like the Stroud, the Nico, because I normally don't like that, but when you have a legit number one on both ends of the spectrum, I really like that. McBride's one of the guys I like. I also like ETN. Would you trade Chase and Ramondre for Garrett Wilson and Jonathan Taylor? No. And I'll tell you this right now. I know why you're wanting to do it, because Chase is bad. And Garrett Wilson is Aaron Rodgers on one target. Didn't have a good week last week. I get why you want to do that. I strongly recommend you keep Chase, especially this week. Let's just have some fun. Let's say you want to make this trade. Do it after Monday Night Football. Jamar Chase is a must start this week. You're going against a bad Washington secondary. I brought this up yesterday. Neighbors went for 10, 127 and a touchdown. What do you think Jamar Chase is going to do? Jamar Chase is probably going to go for 150 and at least one. Jamar Chase is probably my number one start this week. So don't trade Jamar Chase. Let's say you want to pull the trade because you like Jonathan Taylor, like I do. I got major man crush on Jonathan Taylor. Do it after week 3, which by the way, if you decide to pull the trigger after week 3, you're going to get more value than Garrett Wilson and Jonathan Taylor, both players I really, really, really like. Don't do this trade until after Monday Night Football, because Jamar Chase is a must start this week. Listen, do me a favor. Don't make this trade, but if you do, I mean, you have a good team. I mean, you have a good team. Please do this for me. I'm begging. Start Chase against Washington Monday night. Come back to me on Tuesday, and you're gonna thank me. Okay, you're gonna thank me Tuesday, because Chase is gonna play on Monday night. He's gonna have a great game. You're gonna love me. And then if you want to make this trade, whoever's offering you is probably going to offer you something better. But if you're going to make this trade, just do it. Just do it after Monday Night Football. Please do this for me, because you don't want to make this move. Ramondre Stevenson against a tough Jets defense, I still think is a must start. I get why you would want to make this move. I really do, because I'm a huge Jonathan Taylor fan. And I think Garrett Wilson is gonna do better, but please wait till after Monday Night Football, and you're gonna thank me when Jamar Chase just blows up. And if he doesn't, come back on and say, Dan, you don't know anything. You suck. Even though you have great hair, you suck. Yeah, you feel free to chew me out. Please do not trade Chase before this week. Do it after, please. Would you say Braylon only has a good chance of being startable if Brees is out? Also, Jalen Wright's time up. Yeah, I know he had 2 touchdowns, and I saw some clip where people are like, "Oh, you got to bring him, you got to play him." No. Don't get me wrong. I love Braylon Allen. He's so much fun to watch. I think it's a flash in the pan, and Jalen Wright's not a dude that I don't expect. If Mozart's healthy, he's a guy that he may not even be activated. So yeah, I'm gonna say yeah, but if A-Chain goes down, and he's the type of dude who's not going to be healthy. Wilson's the type of guy it's not really. I mean, I tell you the truth, I was expecting him to play a lot more last Thursday. So. Excuse me. Masi, should I sell Dobbins high? And if so, who should I aim for? Also, for week 3, should I start Ridley or Worthy? I'm gonna level with you. Worthy's one of those guys that I'm a big Chiefs fan. You're not gonna find a bigger Chiefs fan than me. The one issue I have is Worthy's always going to be one of these guys that it's a boom or bust. He's going to have that week 1 where he scored 2 touchdowns, but more than likely he's that guy that's going to get, he's barely going to look at the field. He's not going to play a lot. I have no confidence in Tennessee whatsoever. I just think that that's kind of a just to be in a bad team. And I also do think it's just a matter of time before I can't believe this. My buddy Denver Gator is gonna hate me for this. I'm so embarrassed. Najee, by the way, this is embarrassing. This is why I always recommend call your girl baby, because I always get a name freeze. Will Levis. Don't tell Denver Gator. Denver Gator is a huge Will Levis fan. I have no faith in the guy. All right, I would start Ridley. Okay, selling Dobbins high. That's a great question. You probably heard me rant and rave about how much I love Dobbins. You probably heard me rant how much I love Dobbins, and I do think he's a solid number 1. Yeah, and the reason why is that you're banking on law of averages. That dude, since he's been in the NFL, has been injured more than he's played. It's just a matter of time. Can you sell Dobbins high? The answer is yes. Can you? Yes. So, I'm sorry, Derek. I'm sorry. What do you have in mind? Second question's easy. Go with Ridley, but you're going to be mad at me when Worthy when Worthy just has that 2 touchdown performance. But at you never know what's going to happen. You just don't know when it's going to happen. I would go with Ridley, just guaranteed to get you a few more points. So, but when you say sell Dobbins high, the answer is yes. Who should you aim for? It depends on what you got. What do you have a hole in? What I would suggest is there a running back that you're looking at? And there's a lot of things that factor into this, because I had one guy who was 2-0 earlier. I recommended getting Nick Chubb. If you're in a situation where you're 2-0, maybe you can get somebody like Nick Chubb plus CMC plus. So I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry. By the way, if I don't get your question, drop a comment below, DM me on social media, go old school, email me, and I will answer all your questions. Do I have my gut on Braylon Allen, or do I risk it with Baker? If you're can I get a little more information? Are you talking about Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield? Just give me that. Sorry about this. I'm sorry, man. I'm working on it. I'm new to this, Derek. I did not expect fantasy football, and I do rant. That's on me. I'll get better. Sorry about that. Pollard or Moss this week? That's a good question. I've always liked Zach Moss quite a bit. I think it's going to be a closer game. I think Washington's secondary is really, really bad. Tennessee's at home. Pollard's much more of a threat in a receiving game. I'm leaning Pollard, but I will admit, I really would like to see Cincinnati use Moss a lot more. If this is a situation where the Bengals blow out Washington, they may just lean on the ground game. I don't know if Mims is starting either. That could be a big issue, because Mims' first start in the NFL, a guy that's a 6'7", 340-pound right tackle with Trent Brown to his left, who's a 6'6", 380-pound guard. I might want to just kind of lean on that running game. You feel me? But not giving you a great answer here. I'm leaning towards Pollard. How much FAAB do I spend to pick up Jalen Reed? Oh, okay, I go what you're again saying. Here's the deal. If you do want to pick up Jalen Reed, do it now, because the price is going to be really, really low. I need a little more. Let's just say it's $100 a week. You probably wouldn't want to spend anything more than like 2 to 4. I like Jalen Reed. Here's the deal. What you're doing with Jalen Reed is that you're going ahead and you're picking him up, but you're not using him for a couple weeks. So and he's a guy that in a couple weeks from now is like your wide receiver number 2 or flex. So no, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best. By the way, I'll let all you guys know. Oh crap. Okay, got a lot of questions here. Drop me a DM on social media. Email me. Put a comment on YouTube if I don't get your question. So. Start 2, Devontae, DK, Flowers, Addison, Singletary. Okay, Addison may not play. I kind of like Flowers this week. Anytime I always hesitate to not start a running back. You're going against Cleveland. You're going against Cleveland, so it's really hard to say. I rule out Addison. The thing is with DK Metcalf, it's so up and down. It's so up and down. I'm not really sure. I mean, I know Miami's had a couple decent defensive performances. Not sold on them. I'm actually really geeked out to watch the Saints Eagles play. I would start Flowers. I think you need. I also, one thing I want to say about Baltimore is that they need to figure out how to use Derrick Henry more. They need to figure that out a little better. Big game this week too with Baltimore and Dallas. Big game. I like Flowers this week. It's a bad matchup. Singletary against the Browns. Listen, I'm assuming it's a PPR league. Go with Singletary because he's still going to get to 15 to 20 touches. Probably out of all these guys, I'd say Singletary's most likely to get you to score. And I think Flowers. I mean, I just think Flowers. But doing my best on trying to speed it up, so I didn't spend 10 minutes on this one. Thoughts on Waddle? Any trade targets you would recommend? I have a huge man crush on Jalen Waddle. Value's a little lower, Skylar Thompson. So if you have Jalen Waddle, unless you're receiving core, unless your room is just wide open, I mean, unless you got like 4 or 5 guys on there that you're starting ahead of him, definitely hold on to them. Trade targets you'd recommend. JJ Waddle for another receiver. I mean, I need a little more information. What spot do you have a hole in? Quarterback, running back, tight end? Somebody like somebody got me really excited because he mentioned that he's in a fantasy football defensive league, which I'm super geeked out about. A good buddy of mine is in one and always hits me up for information regarding. I would love to talk about fantasy football on the defensive side, which not a lot of people are in that type of league. But my thoughts on Waddle, always liked Waddle. Unless your receiving core is absolutely loaded, Waddle could still have a good game with a backup quarterback on the road against Seattle. A lot of people think Seattle has to have a good defense. I'm not sold on their defense yet. Waddle could have a good game this week. Trade targets I'd recommend. What do you need? What do you need? I mean, are you just you said Waddle, so like you're moving Waddle, but what do you need? A running back, quarterback, tight end? Let me know, and I will try my best not to answer. Take 10 minutes. Fuck! The NFL draft is for the biggest of nerds. I love it. I love the NFL draft. Yeah, we're going to do some college. And this year, I'm going to do a lot more with the NFL draft. I promise. Last year, I moved here to Vegas in February, and it took me a long time to get settled in. This year, I got it set up that I can pick up I'll have some free time during the draft to do a lot more stuff than I did last year. So, and I will be live for the NFL draft. My team: Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall. Nice team so far. Devontae Adams, nice. Evans, Kincaid, Stevenson. Jesus Christ. J2, nice. You are kicking some ass. Pollard, Rashid, nice. Pierce and Singletary, would you change anything? God, no. No. You should be doing really, really good. The only thing I'd be hesitant about is I'm trying to see here. No, I like this lineup. I think you're into. I think whoever you're playing against should be very scared. I mean, I really like this. You're probably sweating atoms for like the first 3 quarters, but yeah, this is a good lineup, man. I really, really, I guarantee. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, Dan, Shaheed. Um, he's been scoring a lot of touchdowns for me and everything. Do I want to get him in the lineup? I would not recommend it, but I would hold on to him. Antonio Pierce, I know he had that great week 1 performance. Your quarterback's completing like 50%, and I think until I see more consistency out of that Colts passing game, I keep him on the bench. Hold on to him though. Singletary's in a bad matchup, but I really think he'll get 15 to 20 touches. I get that. I understand why you're like thinking maybe I should flop Singletary Stevenson. No, I really like this team. I also understand why you want to get Tony Pollard involved. This is a good lineup in a really, really good team. I think both Hurts and Barkley have good games. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm pulling for the Saints because I think it's a great story. Breece Hall, hopefully he has a good game Thursday night. If you can, hit me back up Friday, and hopefully you're giving me a thanks because both Hall and Stevenson have some good games for you, hopefully. But and then Kincaid on Monday night. I always like having a guy on Monday night, but yeah. Yeah, I try. I do rant a little more than I should. So I'll work on speeding things up. A lot of bigger YouTube channels have like guys who do like video editing stuff like that. I don't have any of that. It's just me. You can hear. I may have to move the microphone because I know that the clicking can be a little loud, but hopefully you appreciate it. And I mean the whole goal is I just want to interact with football fans. I really all I want to do with this channel is create a way to interact with as many football fans as I can. So man, I do appreciate it. I do rant a little bit, and I had an energy drink before I started tonight. I'm drinking another one now, so I tend to just okay, but who's the guy to pick up this week? Carson Steele or P. Ryan? Definitely P. Ryan. Andre, great seeing you back, man. The reason why, and I brought this up earlier if you missed it, I just want to emphasize this. When you are a backup running back with a high-profile quarterback, your number one goal is pass protection. And P. Ryan's probably ahead of Steele. I expect P. Ryan, unless they elevate Kareem Hunt to the 53-man roster. They also have Keanu Ingram. He's a former 6th-round pick. He was a guy I kind of liked. I flashed a little bit in preseason for the Chiefs. They're talking about maybe elevating him for this week, but I think P. Ryan might be the guy that surprises and gets about 20 touches this week. The Chiefs traditionally don't want to use the running backs that much, but the reason why I think P. Ryan may get 20, I got accused of ranting, so I'm P. Ryan. I really want to rant about this for another 10 minutes, but what do you think of the roster around Lamar Jackson? What do you, Jeffrey, man, it's great seeing you again, brother. What do you think of the roster of round? Oh, the roster around Lamar Jackson. Okay. I don't like the offensive line at all. God, I got accused of just ranting, and I want to rant so much on the offensive line because I think they made some mistakes at a couple of positions. I like Andrew Voorhees, who's was redshirted last year. He's started this year. He's going to get better and better and better. Potential Pro Bowler in the future. I don't think they're using Derrick Henry right. I wasn't really fond of Derrick Henry. I mean, look, you could have had J.K. Dobbins for almost nothing. You gave him away, when you weren't interested. And I get why, injured. But Likely was a great pick at the 5th round. There were some other players I liked instead of Zay Flowers, but I don't like the offensive line. Derrick Henry's not fitting. They're not really using him right. Biggest problem I have, and I said this during the preseason, is there's a lot of news that was made about Aaron Rodgers missing training camp. I had problems more with Lamar Jackson missing training camp. A lot of 0-2. I think needs to go on Lamar Jackson, and you're going to say, Dan, he had a great game against Kansas City. I was like, yeah. You know what? The play before the toenail, Zay Flowers is wide open in the end zone. You weren't at minicamp, and originally you said, oh, I'm not going to attend minicamp until you get a new contract. You get the new contract, then you're not minicamp with a bunch of new pieces in play. 3 new offensive linemen, and you don't want to join them. Overall, the skill position talent, I'm okay with. I don't like the way they handled the offensive line. Not happy with Lamar Jackson not training camp, and I think he needs to take more blame needs to be on him about the 0-2 start. Also, I didn't watch that full game, but when you're up by 10 at home with 12 minutes left in the 4th, and you have a power running game like you have, you need to close that out. Quentin Johnson or Chuba Hubbard at flex? Oh, that's a great question. What a great question, Christopher Sowers. I love it. I have a major man crush on Quentin Johnston. There is some questions, however, about Justin Herbert starting. And if they start Easton Stick, it was funny. Somebody brought up that they just hate Easton Stick, and I just got a chuckle out of it. But I'm not sure the whole running back situation. I want to be very clear. I really think Andy Dalton's going to add something to that offense. I think the offense is going to look completely different. So I'm going to tell you Chuba Hubbard because I really think Andy Dalton's going to add something completely different to this offense. I think the whole offense is going to just look radically different. I remember they signed Miles Sanders to that big-time contract, and I thought he was going to be the main guy, but they liked Chuba Hubbard better, at least last year. Full disclosure, I haven't watched a ton of Carolina's offense this year, but I really think I would go with Hubbard here because I think Hubbard's a guy that could potentially get 15, 20 touches. With Andy Dalton involved in this offense, I expect the offense to look a lot better. I think this game's going to be a lot closer. A lot of Raiders fans think that this is going to be like they're just going to roll their helmets out, win by 4 touchdowns this week because they're at home. I don't think that at all. I think this is going to be a dogfight. I think Hubbard could have a nice game. Keep in mind, Quentin Johnston is a guy that I massive potential. But what are they doing? What are they doing here in LA? They're running the ball. Your starting quarterback's banged up. I avoid going after receivers when you're running the ball more and your starting quarterback's banged up. Trade Dobbins and Pittman for Rashid Rice. No. Rashid Rice is Kansas City's number 1 option. Pittman, you can't bank on because I don't like what they're doing. In a couple weeks from now, you're probably going to be mad at me for saying no because Dobbins is injured and Pittman's not doing anything, and Rashee Rice is consistently, getting 15 to 20 points. But right now, you're getting much more value out of Dobbins. Getting rid of Pittman. I understand. I would not make this move because Dobbins is going to get you more points than Rice, even though they don't really use Dobbins in the passing game. Right now, you got a guy that's going to get you over 100 yards a week. Even in a PPR league, even if he doesn't get a reception, your running back going over 100 solid. I wouldn't do this. I understand why you want to do it. I wouldn't do this. Keep in mind, when Dobbins goes down, you're going to be mad at me, and more than likely it's if more than when. But I wouldn't do this move. I mean, keep Dobbins as long as you can, and roll the dice on him staying healthy, because I mean, right now 2 games, 266 rushing yards and a couple touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty good. I know 266 is right. I'm not sure about touchdowns. Craig, man, glad to help you out, brother. Glad to help you out, man. I apologize for the rants and taking a little longer on answering a lot of these questions. I am so sorry. I'm going to try to get all of them done. John, 12-team league, $500 a team. We start 3 receivers and a flex. I drafted A.J. Brown. Nice. Mike Evans, Debo, Kupp, McLaren. Yeah. 3 or 5 receivers out, multiple leagues. At least I am 1-1. Have any sleeper receivers in mind? Ooh, boy. Sleeper receivers. With 3 wide receivers and a flex, I get why you want to keep those guys. I mentioned this earlier, Juju Smith-Schuster starting to get integrated in that offense, kind of at a loss of how much of an impact he'll have. You may be able to pick him up, and then I think this week he may be able to snag you like 6 or 7 catches. I can see Juju Smith-Schuster having like a 6-7 catch, 50, 60 yard performance this week. Drawing a blank on the guy's name. I can't believe I'm going to do this. Probably not available, but had a terrible week with the emergence of Jackson Smith and Jake Butt. But Tyler Lockett, is he available? I'm not. Take a look at Jalen Polk for the Patriots. Not expecting a huge game against the Jets, but you need some guys. Could be a guy that's available. Jermaine Burton had 1 catch, 47 yards, first NFL catch. I don't know if T. Higgins is going to be playing in Cincinnati, so with many. Do me a favor if you can, because I didn't realize how behind I was, and I want to make sure I answer all questions. I'm not giving you a great answer. If you follow me on social media, hit me up, or if you tune in tomorrow, I'll give you a better answer. I'm going to start a comment so I can get back to it. I'm really behind, so I'm sorry that I'm not giving you a great answer, because this is a fun one. I really would love to dive into a little more, because I listen. If you're in a 12-team league, you 3 wide receivers and a flex, you got 40 receivers gone. You're trying to get to the bottom of the barrel. Juju Smith-Schuster, Jalen Polk are the only ones off the top of my head that I'm thinking that may be available that can get you some production until A.J. Brown gets healthy. A.J. Brown's not going to play this week, maybe not next one. You got to keep him. McLaren solid, and Debo, when he comes back, solid. I mean, you're starting Evans and McLaren, so you just need you need one. hold on. I got one other one that might be able to help you out. Let me look up the numbers here real fast here. Oh shit! I was going to tell you to take Joshua Palmer. He's on the injury report. I know his numbers have been terrible. Didn't practice today, so don't. He was another guy I was thinking might be healthy. Quentin Johnson, somebody mentioned him earlier. 8 receptions, 89 yards all year. I doubt he's available in your league. I really doubt he's available in your league. That's a good. This is such a great question. This is such a great question. I'm giving you kind of a crappy answer. I'm sorry. Armando Zepeda Jr. Hey, what's up? Sit one from Chris Olave, Chris Godwin, T. Higgins, half PPR. I'll sit Higgins. Higgins may not even play. Even if he does, I would probably go with Higgins. I think that the Bengals kind of want to take a look at these younger receivers. Alaflis, the kid out Penn had 2 touchdowns. Burton had his first NFL reception for 47. I also think that they're going to force feed Chase quite a bit. So sit Higgins whether he plays or not. John, my quarterbacks are Jalen Daniels, Justin Herbert, Brock Purdy. Who would I start this week? I would start Purdy. I know he's got a lot of weapons that he's missing. I would definitely start Purdy. You're playing against a banged up Rams team. I would go with Purdy. You want a defense with a team with a bad offense. You're right. But one thing about fantasy football is that the linebacker, it's my buddy's in a league where you get a half point a tackle. So you want linebackers that you don't want that defense that shuts you out the three and out. You want that defense that allows field goals and points. Forsay Olaquan gets tackles, tip passes. He gets all sorts of points. Devin Lloyd's a guy gets all sorts of points. Does Jacksonville have a great defense? No, they do not. Those guys will get you more points than a guy like JOK, where the Cleveland defense is a lot better. That's why I would love to dive into that in a little more detail. Just made 2 trades. I'm liking my team a ton. I always make some good idea. Look and try to upgrade Ramondre with thinking that could be a way to do it, but your reasoning makes. I remember we were talking about the previous trade. I'm trying to answer all questions. Bear with me, guys. I know I'm really, really behind. I'm gonna try to get to them all though. Oh, God, defensive players. Oh, God, this is so much fun. Shaq Thompson, Ernest Jones, Nick Cross, Keon White, EJ Speed, and Zach Baby. Are you talking about Zach Bond? What a great pickup by the Eagles. I don't know what he did week 2, but week 1, he had like 13 tackles. I was like, awesome. Shaq Thompson, excellent pickup. I like Ernest Jones. Nick Cross. Keon White's a guy that I just fell in love with during the draft process, and he's just going to get better and better, but could be a Pro Bowler this year. Zach Bond, I just love what putting him into inside linebackers. Fantastic move. Yeah, Jamar. If you listen to nothing else, Jamar Chase is a must start this week. So. Oh my God, Tim! IDP League, who do you start at linebacker? 2 of them, Quinton Williams, Patrick Queen, Pratt Spillane. Oh God, Tim's the guy I was talking about earlier. Okay, first of all, Patrick Queen. I don't even know his numbers, but Patrick Queen's a tackling machine, a guy I loved out at LSU. Really love his game. Pratt had 17 tackles last week. Quinton Williams, I don't know what's going on with the Jets defense. And that's kind of like a weird one. Pratt, after that great performance last week. You're going against a rookie quarterback. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. Spillane's a guy who's getting a lot of tackles. Really think he could have a big game. I'm gonna tell you Patrick Queen, and then God, this is a tough one, man. This is a real tough one. I'm leaning, Tim. You're my boy, man. You're my boy, and I really wish I dive in a little more detail. I'm going to tell you Quinnen Williams because I got a feeling it's going to be a low scoring game. I got a feeling that the Patriots aren't going to take a lot of shots deep. I think you're going to see a lot of dink and dunks. I think the Patriots are going to run the ball quite a bit on Thursday night, so that's why I'm leaning towards Williams. I just think out of all of them, the guys that Quinnen Williams had a great year last year, but Patrick Queen's a guy I fell in love with the guy at LSU. So I'm going with Patrick Queen. All these guys are great, by the way. Leaning towards Quinnen Williams. I like that matchup the best. The thing is with Spillane, I wonder what's going to happen in that. That Carolina Vegas game is one that's going to be really interesting because I'm here in Vegas. I'm going to be forced to watch it. Pratt 17 tackles last week was phenomenal last week. I also think he could have a big game against Washington, but I'm going to tell you Quinnen Williams and Patrick Queen. But you got four really good ones. I love Ivan Bryan on my team. The reason why I wanted another back is got destroyed last week by a team of stacked with running backs. Yeah, I get it. Listen, that sucks. That sucks. Arching, that's probably the best game he's going to have all year. Mozart's coming back healthy. Kamara's an MVP candidate right now. I love what they're doing, but I would love to see it sustainable. Doubt it. And I've always loved Breece Hall. That's a tough one. Just Dre, that's a tough one. Guys, I'm going to take a very, very, very small commercial break. When I come back, I'm going to try to get any and all questions answered. Again, I apologize for being so behind. Very fast commercial break, and I'll be right back. My award-winning NFL Weekly Picks video is out. Now, don't watch it right now. This is just a small commercial break as I'm using the bathroom. More than likely, I'm fixing my hair. But make sure you do check it out. It's fantastic. As Afternoon Delight takes a commercial break, we remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate. The video in the description below shows how easy and fast it is to collect your bonus. Click on the link in the description below and start winning today. All right. Yes. Final hour of Afternoon Delight. I'm going to do everything I can to answer any and all questions. If I miss your question or if you need some more information, drop a comment below in the video. DM me. I'm on X. I'm on Instagram. You can go old school, dantalksfootball@yahoo.com. I'll answer any and all questions. It'll be later on tonight. I won't answer the questions right after the show. It'll be later on tonight before Thursday Night Football. And also, I will be doing a fantasy football show tomorrow. I'll give you 3-4 hours of Afternoon Delight. So I am so sorry for getting very behind. I'm going to do my best to answer all questions. The show, unfortunately, ends at 7 Eastern. 4 Pacific time, but I will answer all the questions I possibly can up until 4. Afternoon Delight will be going on tomorrow as well. So, Mr. Vengeance, trade Lamb and Eckler for Taylor and Collins. Oh God, what a great question. What a great question. Okay, so you got two legitimate number ones in Nico Collins and CD Lamb. Love both of them. Okay, love both of them. I would take Lamb over Collins. Taylor over Eckler is a tough one because I love Jonathan Taylor. They don't really use him in the passing game enough. If I'm playing the Colts, I'm almost daring Anthony Richardson to try to beat me. Eckler is a guy that I really think they're going to get involved more and more in the offense. I get why you would want to do it. I'm leaning against it. And the reason why I'm leaning against it is Lamb's going to give you more production week in and week out than Collins. Houston, after week one, remember Mixon had those 150 yards rushing. I know he's out, but it looks like Houston is more than willing to switch gears and try to run the ball, where Dallas is always going to throw the ball around. Eckler is a guy that it's going to be, I think, kind of this production is going to be all over the place. I think Jonathan Taylor is much more likely to get you that consistent performance. If your running back room is weak, I get it. There's not many guys that I would trade for CeeDee Lamb at all, including Nico Collins. This is a great trade, in my opinion. If you're the one with Lamb and Eckler, I would hold on, even though Eckler is really kind of a low end flex option. But Lamb's a guy you really just. I'm going to tell you this right now. Here's the difference between Houston and Dallas. Dallas is a pass first team, where Houston has the ability to be a pass first team, but they're more of a balanced offense. That's why I'm leaning against this trade, because I think Austin Eckler is going to be used more and more and more. With Jonathan Taylor, I could see the Colts trying to lean on him, but if I'm playing the Colts, I'm stacking a box. I'm playing press on the receivers, and I'm just shutting out Taylor. Another thing is Taylor over the last couple of years has not shown the ability to stay healthy. Eckler looks like he's slowing down, but I mean, it's a great trade, but I mean, CeeDee Lamb's a dude who every week is going to get you points. And I'd really hate to get that taken away from you, because that's a lock. That's a lock for like almost 20 points every week. So I'm against it. I get why you'd want to do it. Keaton Talk Sports, a little KTS week 3 video is out. Everybody check it out. I have my week 3 picks video is out. Keaton has his week 3 video out. Keaton Talk Sports is been a guest on the show many times, and he's gonna come back on Monday. So great to see KTS in the chat. Michael Pittman or JSN plus Eckler. Michael Pittman or yeah, JSN and Eckler. That's a no-brainer. You're not going to get a lot of production out of Pittman. I have no faith that Anthony. I need to see a lot more out of Anthony Richardson. JSN had over 100 last week. Keep in mind, you got DK Metcalf, you got Tyler Lockett. You know, when Kenneth Walker's healthy, I could see Seattle switching gears, become more of a running team. I like Eckler. I would make this move just because Pittman for JSN is better, and you get a guy that is a running back number 2 in a flex option. So yeah. Sit or start Stroud and Mayfield. Okay. I mean, I'll be honest. I think Denver's defense is a little better. But I mean, I like Baker against Denver. I think he'll have a solid game. Houston at Minnesota. I get what you're saying. Like, hey, the Vikings defense is really good. They're at home. You know, I like quarterbacks at home a little better than on the road. I know you got Stroud on the road, tough environment, so I get why you would do it. My thought process, though, and by the way, Baker goes for 304 touchdowns, completely possible. I get it. I get it. I would go with the quarterback who's better, and that's C.J. Stroud. That would be my thought process, even though I just got done saying Houston's a type of team that can run the ball, pass the ball, where Tampa traditionally has been running the ball, or I'm sorry, the last 2 years, Tampa Bay's been dead last in rushing. You're at home. I would go with the guy that's got more upside than C.J. Stroud. If you say, Dan, I'm going to go with Mayfield, I like the matchup better. I'm not mad one bit. I get it. You're in a good situation because you got two really good quarterbacks. This is kind of a personal preference where, like, I like strawberry better than chocolate. You may like chocolate better than strawberry. I like going to I like matchups. I mean, they're just more. I mean, I get if you start Stroud and Mayfield goes to that 304 touchdown performance, completely possible. You're going to hate me. You're going to hate me even more when Mayfield goes for like 205 and a touchdown and Stroud puts up 330 and 4. And you're like, man, I started Stroud the previous couple of weeks and he did better. And I benched him for a more favorable matchup. With quarterbacks, I'm just telling you, me personally, I just take the best guy available. The one thing about C.J. Stroud is that even though he's going against a tough Vikings defense, I do expect him to put up some points. I know Baker's going to do well, but one thing I do want to point out is that I could see a situation where they want to kind of protect Baker and do a little less, try to run the ball a little more. So, but I think you're in a good situation. You can go either way. I would go Stroud, higher upside, more potential. Tough matchup though in Minnesota. Trade CD Lamb and Eckler for Taylor and Collins. Okay. You had that question earlier, and I apologize. I'm behind. I answered this earlier, leaning against it because I think CD Lamb is too much of value. I get why, but I'm leaning against it. I would need a little more information because Eckler on your bench, and you're wanting to put Taylor as a starter. It's kind of like it's kind of you're. I don't think there's a real winner here. I mean, I would take Taylor over Eckler, even though I think Eckler is going to get more involved. Lamb's going to get you consistently more than Collins. That's why I don't like it. Crossed, welcome, brother. Apologize for the delay. Would you trade Burrow and Neighbors for Richardson and A-Chain? Ooh, what a great question. Absolutely not. Burrow is a legitimate starter. Richardson has not shown that he can play consistently. He had those highlight reel throws week one, had a bad game in Green Bay. Remember, he only played he was active for 5 games, only finished 2 or 3, and then he was injured for 11. I mean, Burrow gets banged up, injury prone. I get it. Which one's more likely to start and get you more consistent points? Burrow. That's not a problem. Neighbors is a legitimate number one. A-Chain, I know he had a fantastic performance, but when Mozart comes back, and I just showed that Mozart is at practice, A-Chain's could drop down to 5 to 10 touches, where Neighbors is going to be the legit number one. So absolutely, I would not make this trade because you want to keep Neighbors. I mean, 10, 127, and 1 last week, and he's going to have several of those games. He really is. A-Chain, I think last week was probably his best performance of the year. And the reason why is that Mozart, when he gets healthy, I'm a little surprised they didn't use Wilson more. I know what you're thinking. Hey, look, they're putting Skylar Thompson in there. They're going to lead more on the running game. I don't think that's going to be the case. But getting rid of Burrow, who had a great game against a great Chiefs defense, versus Anthony Richardson, who had a bad game against a so-so Packers defense. Don't make that move. Hey man, I apologize. Yeah. Thanks, Just Dre. I didn't realize how far behind I was, and I'm getting excuse me. And I'm trying to keep my rants to a minimum. I'm overly caffeinated, and I love the rant. But man, I appreciate the love, man. I appreciate the love. By the way, if I don't get all your questions answered, if you drop a comment on YouTube, I get the notification pops up on my phone. I don't get notifications for my Instagram and Twitter accounts, Twitter X, whatever, but I will answer them. If you're also old school, Dan Talks football at yahoo.com. I will respond. Plus I'll be live tomorrow. So should I trade Devontae Smith for Kupp and McConkey? There's some questions I have for you. Earlier, a guy was 2-0, and I recommended trading for Chubb because that'll help you long term. If you're 2-0 and you got some starters at receiver and Devontae Smith's on your bench, absolutely make this trade. McConkey's not going to give you much. I kept on hearing all this talk about McConkey being a guy. Being a number one guy, I didn't buy it. They're leaning on the run game. Justin Herbert's banged up. McConkey's not going to do you anything. So McConkey's a throwaway pick. Cooper Kupp in a couple weeks could be a guy that if you're 2-0, I would absolutely make this move because you're in a good situation where you can bank on Kupp being out for the next 4 weeks. Kupp's going to be out for a while. Devontae Smith is going to get you some points right away. I mean, McConkey, I mean, he may not do anything. So if you're in a situation where you got some good receivers right now, I would make this move. If Devontae Smith is like your flex or on the bench, make it. If you're counting on Smith to start and you're hoping McConkey can come in and replace him, and you're hoping that, hey, look, I can drop like 5 to 10 points, you're going to be mad. There's some questions on there. If Devontae Smith, if you're starting Smith and you're hoping McConkey can come in and you need some points, you're going to be mad. Keep in mind, Kupp in a couple weeks from now is going to be a starter. Devontae Smith in a perfect situation should not be a starter for you. So, but listen, if you're 0-2 and you need some immediate production, then I would say no. So I'm leaning towards this trade. A few variables involved. Let me know. Chargers or Steelers defense? Great question. My immediate gut reaction would be the Steelers. I do like what the Chargers are doing defensively. Justin Fields is going to get the start. I've been paying attention to that. I think it's smart, and I think each week he gets better and better. Steelers are at home. So I definitely like Steelers defense. Keep an eye out on the Chargers defense because I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing defensively. So Steelers this week, keep an eye out on it. And then also I fully expect Justin Fields to keep playing better. I think that's why you're worried about. If Russell Wilson was going to start this week, I'd give a little more pause, probably stick Steelers defense at home. West Coast team traveling to the East Coast for an early game sometimes causes issues. This week, Steelers. Stevenson, Dell, and Pickens for Jonathan Taylor. Is that a good deal? You're getting Taylor in the trade, so you're giving up So you're giving up Stevenson, Dell, and Pickens. I would not make this move because you're getting more value from Stevenson than Taylor. Dell's a guy I'm not sure about. Pickens is a guy that's going to add more value. Okay, so full disclosure, I fully think that Justin Fields is going to be a starting quarterback going forward. He's getting a start this week. I think when Russell Wilson comes back, he's going to sit on the bench. Russell Wilson could possibly be a trade. I would, if I was Miami, I would give the Steelers a call because I think Russell Wilson and that offense make a lot of sense. But anyway, you're going to get more production out of Pickens down the line. Stevenson, I've said many times, like you worry about him getting healthy. Tank Dell it's if you're getting Jonathan Taylor, I would not make this trade. I think Stevenson is a guy that you're getting almost as much out of Stevenson as you are Taylor right now. But the thing is with Pickens is his value is going to go up because last year in Pittsburgh, they went through 3 or 4 quarterbacks, still had over 1,100 yards. If Justin Fields stays as the starter, I think that you're going to get about 1,200 yards, maybe 8 to 10 touchdowns. A guy like Pickens is a guy you're going to get some he's a guy you may want to be starting in a couple weeks. Don't be surprised Pickens has a good week against the Chargers. I mean, I could see a situation where Pickens has about 100 yards and a touchdown. And if you give that away and the guy puts up 25, Stevenson could have a great game against the Jets. The Jets defense traditionally really good, but I don't like that move at all. Keep your starting running back. Pickens is a guy I think is a guy you want to hold on to because I think that he's going to be a solid number 2 down the line. Remember, they went through multiple quarterbacks last year, had over 1,100 yards. What if Justin Fields ends up being the guy all year round? DJ Moore put up big numbers last year with Justin Fields. They got a better offensive line. Arthur Smith's just kind of figuring things out, so keep Pickens. I mean, I understand he's not don't get me wrong, if he has like a 5-catch, 40-yard performance and, blows up, you're going to say, why am I keeping this guy? Hold on to him. I thought the Ravens should win for me too. Yeah, you're 100% correct. I thought Derrick Henry, here's the deal. If Derrick Henry is healthy and you get him for the playoffs and you just use him as a battering ram for 30, 35 times against, a team like Kansas City, because watch that Chiefs game, Ravens, first drive of the game, Derrick Henry, 5 carries in the end zone for a touchdown, 13 carries for the whole game. But if they went with a guy like Eckler or Smith, that would have been a better fit for that offense because, oh God, I want to rant on this so much more, JC. I want to rant on this so much more, but I want to get some comments. I've been, people are I'm behind, but yes, absolutely, you're right. Should I trade Mahomes, Ridley, and London for Burrow and Chase? Oh, what a great question. 10-man team is Mahomes, Jacobs, Connor, CD. CD Lamb. Kincaid, DK. Nice. J-Mo, bench, Ridley, Carr. Got Carr on the bench? That's interesting. Ford, Worthy, Brooks on IR. Oh, okay, well, first of all, just side note, Brooks on IR, keep him around. When he starts, he may be the guy. He may be the guy. And, I mean, right now you're going with Jacobs and Connor, so I like the Brooks move. I can't believe I'm saying this as a Chiefs fan, but I would make this move. I would make this move, and I'll tell you why, because you got CD Lamb. So Ridley or London, I mean, I'll be honest, Ridley or London. And if you've been starting Jameson Williams, you got some good production instead. So I like that. You also got DK Metcalf. Now keep in mind he had 100 last week. I think he had a touchdown. Yeah, he had a touchdown. Not always going to do that, but with Burrow and Chase after that 0-2 start, I would definitely make this move. I mean, you're going to get a lot of production out of Burrow and Chase. Yeah. And by the way, keep Brooks. You're going to really like it when I think Connor's going to start breaking down. They're going to go with Trey Benson. Jacobs, I'm not sure he's going to keep that production up. But another thing is that Jerome Ford, I would recommend if you can. But the trade that you're taking, Mahomes plus Ridley plus London for Burrow and Chase, yes, make that move. And then I would also see what you can get for Jerome Ford right now. Let me throw something else at you. Let me do this here. Let me ask you this: Can you swap Ridley for Worthy? Can you swap either Ridley or London for Worthy? Because there's a good chance that you got a Chiefs fan and he'll want Mahomes and Worthy. Just throwing that out there, because I'll be honest, I would rather keep Ridley and or London and give up Worthy. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, the trade as is, Mahomes plus Ridley plus London for Burrow and Chase. Yes, make that move. Make that move. Keep in mind, Burrow goes down. You have Carr. I like Carr. I mean, I don't know if you've been probably starting Mahomes over Carr and you've been frustrated. But yeah, make that move. Keep an eye on Brooks. When he's healthy, you may want to start him. Great question. Augusto Keishan. I'm gonna say I'm so sorry I'm butchering that name. AK. My running backs are Hall, Kamara, Etienne, and Ford. Nice. Wide receivers, London, Rice, Neighbors, Godwin. Would you recommend me to trade Etienne for Smith? No. I'm assuming you're talking JSN and Flowers. No. And the reason why is, I love Breece Hall. I love Alvin Kamara. Etienne is your flex. And then once Ford, once Chubb comes back, you're going to lose a lot of value on Ford. Rice and Neighbors and Godwin. I would do that. And then trade London and Ford for a good running back. London and Ford for a good running back. Okay. I see what you're saying. You get rid of ETN, try to replace him. I would not recommend doing that. I would really, really recommend you keep Hall, Kamara, and ETN. Those three guys should be running back 1, 2, and probably your flex. I would recommend, if you could, London and Ford for maybe a fourth running back. And the reason why I say that, Hall's had some issues staying healthy. Kamara is a guy that it's MVP caliber, but I also think you could be in a situation where he blew up and he just comes back down to earth. So, but don't move ETN yet, because once you move ETN and Nick Chubb comes back, Ford may be worthless. But can you trade London and Ford and get a fourth option? Yeah. Don't for ETN, for Smith and Jigba and Flowers. I really, really, really don't like that. I think Flowers could have a good game. Don't get me wrong. I know Jackson Smith and Jigba had over 100 last week. Huge Jackson Smith and Jigba fan, but I want a 3-down running back with the potential to score. I know Jacksonville's offenses look terrible first couple of weeks. I have a hard time believing that things aren't going to get turned around. I don't know if he's going to have a huge game against Buffalo, but he could. He really could. I do think Flowers is going to have a good game. With Seattle, I have no idea. If Kenneth Walker comes back, I mean, Tyler Lockett's not going 2 for 30 every week. So I always question that, but I mean, I would not do this because here's another deal is that I know New York's going against Cleveland, but I mean, Rice would start. You can go with Neighbors or Godwin, but I mean, I would take both those guys. I would probably start Flowers over Neighbors, maybe. I wouldn't make this trade. All right, I'm going to make sure I get all the questions I answered. Sorry to kind of cut off that answer short, but need one running back, one flex, full PPR, 1 point per first down. That's a fun league. That's a fun league. Brian Robinson or Dobbins? Dobbins. I know it's a tough matchup against Pittsburgh. I get that. Now, if Herbert doesn't play and it's Easton Stick, you may want to flip that around. But the way I understand it is Herbert's banged up but going to play. I still would go with Dobbins. JSN or McBride. So I'm going to level with you. I know Jackson Smith and Jigba went over 100. Huge Jackson Smith and Jigba fan. Kenneth Walker is healthy. You could be looking at a 2-catch, 11-yard performance day. I like McBride quite a bit. I also always recommend in a PPR league, you want to get as many 3-down running backs as you can. So, if Easton Stick is the starter and not Herbert, you may want to go ahead and bench Dobbins, maybe, but I wouldn't bench Dobbins for JSM. I like McBride because I think McBride could have a very big game. I like Brian Robinson too. So, final answer: Dobbins and Robinson. Keep an eye out if Herbert doesn't play. If Herbert doesn't play, I would go McBride maybe over Dobbins, but Dobbins could still be the guy that gets 30 touches with Easton Stick. As a general rule of thumb, you want to get the guys that are going to get you the most touches, and more than likely Dobbins is going to get the most. Then Robinson. Then I would go McBride over JSN, but I would stick with the 2 running backs. I'd go with Dobbins and Robinson. And by the way, with Robinson, I could see him getting a lot of first downs. I could see his touches going down with Austin Eckler going up. Also against Cincinnati, it's going to be a tough matchup, but I would go with the 2 running backs. Keaton Talk Sports. Pats Jets will be low scoring than people think. Just looking past matchup between. Yeah, I predicted 22-20. The line is under 40. A lot of lines on this game are under 40, which is the NFL doesn't like that, but I do. I'm expecting a low scoring game. It's going to be a great game. Full disclosure: Keaton Talk Sports is a Patriots fan. Sebastian says Dobbins and Pittman for Jordan Mason. Love anybody's opinion. I'm anti that trade just because when CNC comes back, they're going to use Mason less. Dobbins will put you up more points than Mason. Well, last week, I think even though Dobbins went over 100, Mason may have outperformed him, but I wouldn't do this. However, Pittman's not doing much, and he probably won't. But you have to understand something. When CMC comes back, Jordan Mason, he may go from like 20, 25 touches to like under 10. That's why I would recommend against it. Baker rushing upside's a big plus. Yeah. CJ Stroud can run as well, but traditionally doesn't like using his feet. So I'll be honest, that's a good one. I just like Stroud better. I think he's got more upside. How concerned are you about Mahomes? Seems like he'll throw more with Pacheco out, but I'm thinking picking up Carr as a hedge. Well, by the way, if you can pick up Derek Carr, why not? He's an MVP candidate. I mean, and the offense seems to click with him. He's a veteran quarterback. Great move. How concerned am I about Mahomes? Not at all. He had his worst game as a pro. And what's the one thing you don't want to do? You don't want to poke the bear. So, I mean, I kind of like the fact as a Chiefs fan that I'm looking at Mahomes, hey, you got room to improve, because that's kind of what you want. Atlanta's one of the best secondaries in football. I don't know if you saw the clip where the Raiders were making fun of Mahomes or not. I don't know if you saw that, but if you did, Mahomes against the Raiders, yeah, you want to start Mahomes. By the way, if you can pick Carr up, is Carr on the garbage heap, pick him up. Pick him up. I could see P. Ryan as a guy. I've been urging people. They signed Kareem Hunt. I've been urging people that if Kareem Hunt doesn't get activated, P. Ryan might be a low running back number 2 possible flex option. He's the third down back, but he's a guy. He's a bigger running back. He's got some size and power. And one thing about the Chiefs that's kind of underrated is the Chiefs' offensive line. That's a powerful running team. I mean, they have the ability to run the ball, and you can't put 7 in the box with a guy like Mahomes. So, concerned about Mahomes? Not at all. Can you pick up Carr? Yeah. Pick up Carr. That's a great pickup, especially if he's on the waiver wire. 1 quarterback lead. I have Stroud. Smart. Don't have a backup. Love is on waiver. Should I pick him up and stash him and to see how he comes back? Would have to drop off Ray Davis or an extra defender. Ray or Davis. I'll tell you what. So the good news is if you make a move like that, I don't know the bye weeks right off the top of my head. I remember. Let me look this up. I want to make sure I answer all questions for you. What I would really hate, and I remember a guy did this one year. Here, I'm going to try to make this really fast. A guy did this one year where they had the buys on the same week. So the buy is week 14, so it's really, really late in the year for Houston. Week 10 buy. Because it's by the way, it's really late. It's really, really late in the season. I mentioned this earlier, but what I always do is I want to put you in a situation where you can win in the playoffs. I don't know what your team situation's like. Love is an excellent option. You would have to drop Ray Davis or an extra defender. Do you have somebody you're absolutely not using? If you have somebody you're absolutely not using, I think grabbing Jordan Love is a good point. Is a good pick. Are you talking to Mario Davis? I'm drawing a blank when you say Davis. You say Ray Davis. I'm drawing a blank. If you got somebody you're not using, I would like to see you stash Jordan Love. There's a few questions I have to answer about this, but I do like that sign up because in a couple weeks from now, he's going to put up a lot of points for you. Stroud's bye week's really late in the year. I don't want you because, what was it, week 13, week 14? Not sure how your league does the playoffs. A lot of them usually start between 12 to 16, 12 to 14, somewhere in there. I don't want you to be in the playoffs and then be without a quarterback. That's something I would worry about. So that's why I like Jordan Love late in the year. So off the top of my head, I want to tell you yes. Need a little more information, but Jordan Love, if he's available as a backup, is nice option if you can stash him without losing too much. Oh yeah, I answered this question. Jet for life, man. Should I drop Christian Kirk for Quentin Johnston? I get why you want to do that. The answer is no, and I love Quentin Johnston. The reason why I say that this week, if Easton Stick gets the start, you're not going to get much. I know Christian Kirk hasn't been doing much. I also think he's banged up a little bit. Brian Thomas Jr. is coming into his own. Trevor Lawrence has got to play better. Christian Kirk's a guy I think that will consistently be better than Quentin Johnston, even though I love Johnston's upside. Let me throw this out at you. If Christian Kirk's just sitting on your bench and you're not using him, you ended up with some great receivers, then I would roll the dice on Quentin Johnston, because I think there is a chance he's eventually going to be the number one guy, where I think Brian Thomas Jr. is eventually going to take over Christian Kirk. But for the next several weeks, I think he'll get more consistent production out of Kirk. Right now, today, I'm leaning towards no, especially with Herbert being out. If Herbert's out, you 100% don't want to make this move. But I'm leaning towards Kirk, who will be more consistent, and I'm expecting Jacksonville offense to pick up too. That's an if. Rhinos Roundtable, what's up, brother? Gotta love the show, Dan. It's crazy how much interest fantasy football shows are getting. Yeah, there's some really smart owners in this draft. Some great questions. I feel bad because I'm missing out on some guys here, so I apologize. Should I move on from Laporta? Kind of want Bowers. How do I make it happen? Okay. Disappointed in the Lions offense, not making more of an effort to get him involved. Really, really, really disappointed. Don't blame you for wanting Bowers. Don't blame you for wanting Bowers. How do I make it happen? Can you make a Laporta for Bowers trade? I'm just going to throw this out there. If you can't make this trade and you're angry at Laporta, the one thing I will tell you is that I do expect the Lions to realize that they need to get Laporta more involved in this offense. I think they went out of their way to kind of force feed Jameson Williams. I would 100% keep Laporta, because I think that you have some massive upside and some massive potential. But if you do want Bowers, can you trade straight up? I don't know who has. I'm assuming Bowers is not. Somebody picked him up. Can you make a Laporta for Bowers trade? You may have some problems, but different folks, different strokes. I mean, if you got like a big time Lions fan, or maybe an Iowa Hawkeye fan who drafted Bowers, you may be able to trade him straight up. I will say this. I fully expect Laporta to really kind of have an uptick. So I don't just drop him. I mean, don't just drop him, because I do think that as far as tight ends are concerned, he's a starter. Just had some bad weeks. Don't blame me for wanting Bowers. Can you make the trade straight up? By the way, just full disclosure, you make the trade and it backfires on you. I can see that happening, because I do think Laporta will continue to improve. A rookie having one big game, you just don't know yet. You just don't know. Yeah, he had some issues staying healthy in college, and you never know what somebody's going to do on a pro level. But should you just drop Laporta? Absolutely not. Still a starter. Burrow or Mahomes for the rest of the season? Oh, that's a good one. Okay. So full disclosure, I'm a Chiefs fan. Okay. The one thing that's a big now, both teams are pass first offenses. Okay, both teams are pass first offenses. Somebody brought up Burrow and Chase for Mahomes and I think it was Ridley in London or something like that. I would lean towards Mahomes. Now, here's why. Okay, better offensive line. Both coaches are good. I mean, both are offensive minded coaches, but I would lean towards Andy Reid. You have more of a variety of weapons in Kansas City. You know, you got Rashid Rice, not as good as Jamar Chase. All right. You got some young, talented young players, but ultimately, you know, with Juju Smith-Schuster and Travis Kelce, you know, Xavier Worthy. Remember, you get Hollywood Brown when he comes back from injury. Somebody brought up, you know, who somebody on the garbage heap I can pick up. I didn't even think about Hollywood Brown, but he's not going to play for another couple of weeks. Full disclosure, I'm diehard Chiefs fan, but I will say this: Burrow is a guy that you know I'd have a hard time, you know, ranking 1 through 10 fantasy football. Burrow's top 10, and Mahomes, despite a very bad game against the Bengals, and could have a tough game against a very, very good secondary in Atlanta. You wouldn't want to get rid of Mahomes. I think it's one of those options if you have both guys. I mean, you're in great shape. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're in great shape. I would lean towards Mahomes. Better health history. I mean, one thing about Burrow, it's like every other year he misses multiple games. Mahomes a couple years ago had his kneecap was dislocated, popped it back into place, and he missed, I think it was like 3-4 weeks. I mean, it was nasty too, because his knee was like, instead of being at the front, it was like off to the side, and the doctors just like popped it back into play. But you know, health, offensive line, better coach, more variety of weapons, because you don't know what's going on with T. Higgins, and you're also banking on 2 youngsters, talented players, but you know, Hollywood Brown's a proven entity in this league. Juju Smith-Schuster's proven entity. Kelce, bad start, but I mean, Hall of Fame caliber tight end. You know, you know, I'm not mad at you, by the way, if you got both and you're like, you know, I'm going to start Burrow this week. I wouldn't be mad at you. This week, I'd lean towards Burrow. Which one's going to be better for the next 10 to 12 weeks that I would bank on would be Mahomes. You know, somebody brought up CJ Stroud versus Baker Mayfield. You know, I you know, take better quarterback. Not insulting Burrow at all when I say this, but you know, you take the better quarterback. So if those are your 2 options, though, you got 2 good ones, though, Quinn. That's a great team. Mahomes, but if you went Burrow instead, I can't hate you. Ray Davis for Carr seems like a good move. Thanks for your advice. Ray Davis, I was drawing a blank. He's the Bills running back, 5th round pick out of Kentucky. Let me make sure I got that right. If it's the same guy I'm thinking of, 4th round pick out of Kentucky. Great story, by the way, if you don't know it. I remember watching his story for the drafts because I started watching him and started really getting a kick out of watching him play. Turned out to be he was had to take care of his little brother. His mom died. Some tragic story. Really like the fact that they're using him to kind of spell James Cook. I just drew a blank on him, so I apologize about that. But should you drop him for picking up Carr? I like that move. If I remember correctly, though, you have some other running backs in play. Ray Davis is not a guy he's going to be the guy that's going to spell James Cook for a little bit. James Cook goes down, you're going to hate this, but Carr's a guy that he's an MVP candidate right now. He's an MVP candidate right now. He may have a great. So if I remember correctly, I'm okay. I only got 10 minutes left. But if I remember correctly, you have a starter and you want Carr as a backup. Carr may be the better option against Dallas, but Derek Carr's a good move. Ray Davis, I kind of forgot who he was, so I just drew a blank, but really like him. So James Taylor for James Cook, Amari PPR. I got JT. Ooh. I would say yes. I like Cook more in a PPR. Plus, Amari Cooper is a guy it's done almost. I know last week he did almost nothing. Keep in mind, I have to pay attention to the Cleveland injury report. There's a chance both tackles are coming back, and if that's the case, you get a solid number 2 or a flex and Amari Cooper. I think James Cook in a solid PPR is better than Jonathan Taylor. If I'm building a football team, I wouldn't want Jonathan Taylor. Keep in mind, Jonathan Taylor's had issues staying healthy. Cook hasn't. So that's another thing. So I would make this absolutely. Yeah. Drew a blank on who he was, but I remember his story because he was a guy I was kind of following come draft time. Should have watched more Kentucky, but last year college football I wasn't able to watch nearly as much. So I didn't watch a lot of Kentucky, but remember his story from the combine. Great story, great kid. He's a guy like if I'm building my roster, do I want him on my 53? Sure. You have a potential MVP candidate, Derek Carr, you're picking up. Yeah, make that move. I traded likely for Kincaid, buy low, high, good buy low. He has Lamar. Well, I'm a huge fan of Dalton Kincaid. One of my biggest draft crushes. Absolutely love this kid. The thing is with likely is that did he have the best performance of his life week 1? Are they going to use him more? I think they should use him more in Baltimore. He has Lamar Jackson. I get that logic. I don't hate it. I'm not sure I would have made it because you have a little more upside and likely. Kincaid's a guy I fully expect to be a starter. Likely he'll be one of those guys that he may have that week against Kansas City where it's 110 and a touchdown next week, 2 catches, 15 yards. Where Kincaid, even as worse, you'll get that 330, and then he'll still have those 80 yards, 1 or 2 touchdowns. Don't hate it. I'm not sure I would have done it, but I don't hate it. And keep in mind, I have a huge man crush on Dalton Kincaid. I also get the logic of, hey, look, you got Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. Keep in mind, Josh Allen likes to run the ball. The Bills' offense predicated more on running the ball. There's a lot of options involved. The league may vote. That's interesting. I don't know why they would veto this. I get why you did it, and I get why. And logic makes sense on both teams. Here's my final analysis. I think Kincaid you'll get more steady performance. With likely it'll be kind of up and down, up and down. Have that week 1 performance where he gets you like 20 points, and then I don't know what he did last week, but I think we'll have a lot more 2 to 3 point performances where I think Kincaid, even at his worst, is probably going to get you 5 to 6 each week. I also big man crush on Kincaid, so I don't blame you for getting him. Trade Mahomes. Oh yeah, I remember. I would not make this move at all. Please don't. Look, I understand Mahomes is going to have a tough week. I think Jacobs will have a good game. Kelsey will start getting upticks. I understand you want to move for a Waddle. Hold on, because Justin Jefferson has that ankle injury. Mahomes, I mean, who are you starting other than Mahomes? I traded Deontay Johnson for Jalen Waddle, and the league voted a Vigo, a trade which sucks. Oh, God, that was a great trade. That is a great trade. Oh, God, yeah. And I get why the guy's like, well, hey, I got Andy Dalton, so Deontay Johnson's going to do better. You have a backup quarterback, but Waddle's the better player. I get both ways. That sucks that there's no reason that trade should have been vetoed, though. Interesting that you have a league that's veto crazy. Should I start Hunter Henry over Pitts? That's a great question. That is such a great question. Like this much, yes. And the reason why I say that is that I kind of like Hunter Henry against the Jets defense a little more than I like Pitts against Kansas City's defense. Now, one thing is that Isaiah likely blew up and had a big game, but I could see Kansas City trying to take Pitts out of the game. The Kansas City run defense is traditionally pretty solid. I know the Jets defense traditionally is really good. I don't hate either tight end, to be honest with you. I'm leaning towards Hunter Henry. One thing, the way I kind of look at the Patriots Jets game is that I think the Patriots have to throw the ball, and if I'm Jacoby Brissett, I got to keep my job. All right, which means that I need to not turn the ball over, because the best way to get benched when you got a guy like Drake May is by forcing turnovers. So what are you going to do? You got who's your receivers in there? I know Polk, rookie, or do you want to go with Hunter Henry? So I if I'm Jacoby Brissett, I would rather force throw a ball to Hunter Henry, the big physical guy, who's much more likely, if he doesn't catch it, he's going to, veterans much more likely to bat the ball down, force an incompletion. Pitts could be a situation where the Chiefs say, hey, you know what? We're going to take away Drake London. We're absolutely not going to let the John Robinson beat us. So Pitts may have a big game. Sorry for the indecisiveness. Henry by a little bit. I expect Henry's more likely to have that consistent performance. Pitts is a guy could have 2 catches, 15 yards, could have 100 yards and a touchdown. Go with Hunter Henry, and then hit me up Friday, and hopefully Henry has a touchdown and about 70, 80 yards, and you're thanking me. Demarcus Robinson, Pittman Jr., or Shakir? Oh, God, 3 bad options. Demarcus Robinson, longtime Chief, guy that I was always banking on being better. It's funny, he was a 4th round pick. Tyreek Hill was the 5th round pick from the Chiefs. Pittman Jr. is the obviously more talented guy. Shakir, developmental. I would really roll the dice on those three and go to Marcus Robinson, but I don't like either of them. If I'm level with you, guys, only got 2 minutes left. If I missed your question, drop a comment below. I'll get to it later tonight. Plus 3-4 hours of afternoon delight starting tomorrow. But I gotta end the show at 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. So I am going to miss some of your questions here, but I'll do my best here. Pancake, Richardson, Kamara, Kyron, Amon-Ra, Mike Evans, Devontae Smith, Kittles, Cowboys D, Aubrey, Eckler, Charbonnet, Ridley, Cortland Sutton. Okay. Half PPR, you're thinking of packaging RB for, oh boy. This will be the final question. Damn shame, because this God is a good one. I'd love Pancake 279. If there's any possibility I could get you to come in tomorrow or to drop a comment below, I would love to dive into this because you got Kamara. I understand why you want to get rid of Kyron Robinson. I get that. You have Amon-Ra, you have Mike Evans. I like that. I like Kittle. I understand why you want to get rid of Charbonnet, Eckler. Probably some value. Aubrey, drawing a blank. Cortland Sutton's a guy I think could be. Yeah, I get what you wanted. I 100% get what you want to do, because what you want to do is you want to have somebody you can team up with Kamara to have that stud running back, because you're expecting more from Kyron. I get that. Eckler right now might be the best option. Hopefully, he has a good game against Bengals. If you don't mind, I'd love to dive into that more either later today or tomorrow, but I got to end the show. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in for 3 full hours of afternoon delight. I will be back with Fantasy Football Thursday starting 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, 3 full hours of afternoon delight. I apologize if I didn't get your question answered today. Do drop them. If I missed your question, please drop the comment below. I'll answer them later tonight. And if you want to join tomorrow, what I might do tomorrow, just have a cutoff 3:45. I got to end the show now. Thank you so much. Please come back tomorrow for some more afternoon delight.